Okay, a very good evening to everyone present here. So finally, we are back with the first event of DSCVIT in November, and I mean it's going to be amazing. But before we start and talk about the event and everything, let's just first introduce ourselves. So I'm Hisham,
And I am Anushka.
and we are going to be a host for today. Now, a lot of the crowd that I see on YouTube are basically freshers. So, before we go on to talk about DevTalks, which is going to be a phenomenon in itself, we'll just introduce you to who we are and what we do. So, Anushka, over to you.
I think most of you here have heard the name Google Cloud or GDSC-VIT. GDSC-VIT is one of the most esteemed technical chapters in VIT. Not only that, we are a highly reputed non-profit organization. We aim at empowering students to advance in multiple technical domains, and we build solutions for real-world difficulties along with a well-established design and management team.
So essentially, we are a college club, and everything that we do revolves around mentoring the students at our college and beyond. So last year in 2020, we had this idea in our mind, and we wanted to bring speakers who are very experienced and have been in the industry to come and speak and share their knowledge and intellect with us. And last year we had an edition of Dev Talks, and it was amazing. I mean, we had some brilliant speakers come in and share their valuable knowledge with us, and personally, I learned a lot from it. And this time around, it's no different. We have people from some really huge companies coming, and I mean, yeah. So without much of these introductions and everything, I'll just like to get into the event. The format of the event is quite simple. We'll have keynote sessions from the speakers. Then you'll hear me and Anushka talk for a bit. There'll be question answers. You can ask questions and they'll answer your questions live. And then we'll have the other speaker. And this will go on for three speakers, right? So we have three speakers for these events, and believe me, their credibility is, I mean, their credentials speak for themselves. So, Anushka, what is that one company that you think everyone wants to work for as a college student?
With the aim that I joined Google's Developers Club, I aimed for to work for Google, and I think everyone here aims to work for Google one day.
Exactly, and that is true for me too. And our next speaker who's coming up, he's also from Google, right? So our next speaker is going to be Aanshul Sadaria, and I can go on and on about everything that he has done in his sort of small career that he has. So uh, I mean, I could go on. He's like, he's worked at Google. He's mentored a lot of students. He's a traveler. So I mean, talk about being an all-rounder. So I would like to
As
welcome
someone
Anshul.
who's just started out with college, I would love to get an insight into what mistakes I can possibly avoid in my college life. And I'm sure all of you here are curious to get to know that too. Anshul here is just here to tell us about what mistakes we can avoid in college life.
Yep. Hi everyone. Hopefully I'm
Hi,
audible.
Anshul.
Yeah. Hi everyone. So first of all, I mean, the thing about the sessions that I conduct is that they need to be responsive. Because if the audience is not responding, मुझे मजा नहीं आता है, to be honest. So we will keep it very much interactive. Anushka and Hisham and Riddhi whenever she joins it. So you can also interact with me in between, and people keep pouring in the comments in YouTube comment section as well. So that's how we'll proceed the section. Just let me know when my cue is there.
Okay, Anshul, I think
Is
we'll be going off stage now, and the stage is yours. And yeah,
okay.
cool.
Yeah. Can you share this screen?
Yeah, you can share your screen.
Okay. Yep. Got it. Okay. Yeah. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about software engineering. I'm going to talk a little bit about product engineering and some things around entrepreneurship and stuff like that. And to bear with me, just bear with this particular slide because the presentation is not going to be boring at all. though it seems from this current slide like it's going to be some boring definitions and all of the stuff that I'm going to speak about, but it's not going to be anything like that. Okay, and then we'll touch up a little bit on how to prepare for interviews, not just Google or in general, but कोई भी technical interview है, we'll touch upon the basis of what is expected from a candidate generally. ठीक है, I am not going to vouch for any of the companies. It's what I personally believe. And then we will touch upon my story, how I ended up being at IIIT and then at Google, and what all things did I do in between those 4 years. So it's going to be a fun time, to be honest. So just keep interacting. मैं बीच बीच में screen देखूंगा, आपके questions देखूंगा, right? And then we will also have a Q&A sessions as well. बीच बीच में if you have a question, feel free to drop in. I will check out the questions as well. Okay, so here we go. Okay, first of all, what is software engineering? So I was reading, like my research कर रहा था सुबह to prepare this presentation, and I was just going through the stats, like what part does, like whatever we learn in our college does actually comprise of what we do in software engineering when we join a corporate. So I was stunned to see that coding actually is like comprises only of 10 to 15% of the actual software engineering time, and the rest, as you can see on the screen. So it starts with the product requirement or the user requirements. मतलब you need to know who the user is, what the requirements are before you start building a product, right? फिर आता है system analysis. You need to know what system you are working on, what tools you have to work with. You know around, like मतलब क्रिकेट खेलना है तो पता होना चाहिए ना, what ball is there, kookaburra है, duke ball है, what bats you have, कौन से bats है, and all of that. So it's kind of a system analysis. You get to know the system that you are going to work with, that you are going to leverage to build your product. And then comes the system design part. Like you have different tools, you have different subsystems that you'll be working with. You just try to compile all of them and see how the system at a high level will work. And once that high level design is locked in, then you go into the low level design, which usually gets translated into the code design. मतलब code क्या करना है at the end of the day, right? And उसके साथ साथ, I mean, see, the part that we actually do in college is more or less just the code design. System design थोड़ा बहुत, मतलब कोई कोई colleges में courses होते हैं. There are some projects in which you do some system design, but more or less 90 to 95% of the college is just the code design part. और उसमें भी मतलब, as far as I know my college experience, there is no design part in it. It's just the coding part that we do. And then comes the important part, which is testing. Testing is really, really very important, because when you work in big corporates or even the startups, small mistakes can cost you billions of dollars, can cost you a lot of man hours. So testing is really, really important. And then after the deployment phase comes the maintenance, which can be boring, but it's really important, because talking about Google, some of the trademark products are Google search, YouTube, this and that, blah blah blah, Google ads and all of that. So if we are not maintaining it, leave upon the improvement part, if we are not maintaining it, the customers will switch to alternative products. I'm not sure how many good alternative products are there in the market right now, but if we don't keep up with the current benchmark that we have set, talk about any of the products, okay, Paytm or blah blah blah, any of them. So maintenance is really, really important, though it can be boring. And then we keep on updating as we get the customer feedback, or we see some bugs, or we want to roll out a new feature into that product. So this is a high level of what software engineering is. And I'm not sure how excited you would be, but we will be touching up on some entrepreneurship stuff as well, talking about startups, talking about product engineering, and we will go it along with a case study. So I'm not sure if you'd be excited with that case study or not, but it is surely going to be enlightening. At least for me, while I was researching, it was quite enlightening for me. So the first part is understanding the user. Because you are building something. मतलब कॉलेज में तो असाइनमेंट करते हैं तो किसी के लिए करते नहीं है, खुद के लिए करते हैं, ग्रेड्स के लिए करते हैं, worst case, right? So when you are developing a product, be it in startups, be it in your own company, your own startup or someone else's startup, or you're working in a corporate, you need to understand who the user is, right? First of all, like is the product gender specific, or is it age specific? Is it meant for a particular location? मतलब पूरा पूरा मतलब कुंडली छापना होता है ना, वैसे यूजर की कुंडली पूरी होनी चाहिए हमारे पास when we are designing the product. The next step is what do they need, right? हम ये प्रोडक्ट बना क्यों रहे, बिकॉज दे हैव सम रिक्वायरमेंट, राइट, बिकॉज वी आर गोइंग टू फुलफिल सम पर्पस ऑफ theirs. So what do they need, वो पूरा हमें पता होना चाहिए from A to Z. And the most important thing which we usually underestimate is why do they need it. ठीक है, what do they need तो हम लोग usually मतलब जो प्रोडक्ट रिक्वायरमेंट डॉक्यूमेंट होता है उसमें हम फिल कर देते हैं, बट वाई डू दे नीड इज रियली इंपॉर्टेंट, बिकॉज कभी कभी क्या होता है, वी टेक देयर वर्ड फॉर ग्रांटेड एंड वी स्टार्ट डिजाइनिंग द प्रोडक्ट विदाउट अंडरस्टैंडिंग वाई डू दे एक्चुअली नीड इट, व्हाट प्रॉब्लम दे आर फेसिंग, जिसको हम सॉल्व करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. सो if we know that thing, then we can come up with some alternative suggestions. We can try to convince the customer or the user that okay, this is how you can use it, or these are the proper alternatives to this. So वो trade off easy हो जाता है without understanding why do they need. It's like they told you the requirements and you just went on to designing the product. So वैसा नहीं होता है. Underneath it there is a lot of to and fro after understanding why do they need it. So yeah, that is what it is about the user. And case study that we are going to cover today is going to be dating apps, Tinder in specific. I had a few alternatives, but I thought it would be good to go through, I mean, maybe Tinder, because not most of us use it, hopefully, but it is very common thing. I mean, we always want to use it or some or the other. We just want to experiment with it. कैसा है, कैसा नहीं है वो सब. So I just wanted to touch upon Tinder and yeah, narrate the case study for you guys. So first of all, understanding the user. Okay, I can see a lot of questions coming in. So just bear with me. मैं कुछ ही देर में ये सब खत्म कर लूंगा जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ, and then we can just interact live face to face and answer your questions. ठीक है? So just keep your questions there. Okay. Yeah. So talking about Tinder. So, I mean, you can answer the questions that I asked, okay, regarding Tinder and regarding the product engineering. So, does anyone know why was it successful, or was it the first product to come in the online dating thing? Because we know, like, मतलब Facebook तो काफी time से है, Instagram भी है recently, there is LinkedIn as well. So, social media has been evolving, and where does Tinder fall in it actually? Who is it meant for? Youth, obviously, usually between 18 to 30 years of age. Is it meant for men and women, both, or any one of them? Right? So these are the questions. So does anyone want to give it a try? Who actually was Tinder meant for, or who actually is it meant for? I can see a lot of interactions, which is really good to see. So I really like it. And if you want me to converse in Hindi also, see, I can converse in both of them, Hindi and English. So if you think I will like you will feel better conversing in Hindi, then मैं उसमें भी बोल सकता हूँ. I have no issues with that. Yeah, Hisham, single people, obviously dating. Yeah. Okay. So why can't Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn solve that purpose? Why was there a requirement for a new application for this thing? I mean, I still feel there is a lot of social stigma around online dating and all of that, because I'll tell you a story. So मैं कॉलेज में था और मेरे दोस्त ने बोला कि like I am seeing someone. So I'm like अच्छी बात है, let's catch up. मतलब उसके दोस्तों को भी बोला हम भी मिलते हैं, let's just get to know each other, group expand होगा. So then he's like, I have not met her yet. So I was like, well, how are you seeing each other then? Then he was like, we met on social media, we met on Instagram. So I was like, are you crazy? You have not seen her, you don't know who she is or how she is, or is she actually there or not? मतलब हो सकता है किसी दोस्त ने fake profile भी बना लिया हो. So he's like, no, it's not like that. I have been seeing her for like almost 6 to 7 months, and we have been getting along really good. So, I mean, there is a stigma. And we even, like, we were his friends, we were not ready to believe that, okay, he was online dating someone. And we were like making fun of him and joking around with him. So, online stigma is still there. And I think Tinder, the main purpose with which Tinder was started was to break this social stigma. Okay. So, first question to you, okay, what is Tinder? Is it a dating platform? Is it a game, or is it a shopping place, like kind of an e-retail? So, Hisham thinks it's a dating platform. Some of you, do you think it's kind of a shopping where women shop men or men shop women or something like that? I'm already committed though, so hey, don't. I am sure you are already committed. So maybe if your other half is looking at this dating platform now, so all of you think it's a dating platform, okay? So the story is a little different. So I will narrate you a story, okay? एक बार एक आदमी था, he goes in a bar and he doesn't know what Tinder is, first of all. So there were a woman, bunch of women, like friends, 3 to 4 friends, and they were on the other table. So they were shouting left, 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 right, 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 and all of that. So the person was a little confused. वो जो बंदा था, he got a little confused. Like, are they playing a game? What is this left and right thing? So he controlled himself for a while, but that went on for some 30 minutes, and that left right thing went on and on. So he went to those bunch of women and he asked them, कि मतलब what game are you playing? So they were like, it's called Tinder. I mean, तब नया नया था, and this is a real story. So तब नया नया था, मतलब Tinder was just launched in the colleges, and they said it's a game where we pick men. So left and right, they were not sure if they wanted to date or not, but it was just a fun for them, and that's what I have seen in my college as well. मतलब I have seen my friends creating account just ऐसे ही, and they were just like left and right करते हैं और देखते हैं कुछ होता है तो ठीक है, वरना left and right करते हैं. So that is what how it started. It was supposed to be a kind of a game, obviously solving the dating issues, but it was experience क्या देना चाहते थे Tinder वाले? That is a game, left and right? You just pick your what you want, who you want, based on just the photo. वो description वगैरह तो मतलब धीरे धीरे evolve होके आया. At first it was just a photo, you need to select based on a photo, left करो right करो जिंदाबाद, ठीक है? But the main thing behind that, गेम का एक्सपीरियंस तो दे ही रहे थे वो लोग. सो इफ एनीवन हैज यूज्ड टिंडर, सो इट डजंट से दैट, व्हाट इट सेज इज दैट कीप प्लेइंग, ठीक है? जब लेफ्ट और राइट करता है, मैच होता है, इट सेज कीप प्लेइंग. इट डजंट से दैट your match will contact you in some blah 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 things or anything like that. It says keep playing. So that is what the experience the developers wanted to give. Like, it's kind of a game, left right करते हैं, मजा आएगा. The other thing is that it tries to remove a bit of social stigma, though we have in India for sure. I'm not sure about how it is abroad, but they try to reduce the social stigma regarding online dating. And the first thing is that women are their priority. Okay. Because Instagram pe kya hota hai? So I asked you a first question, right? Why not Instagram? Why not Facebook? Why not LinkedIn? Okay, so, leave LinkedIn apart because it's meant for working professionals. But Facebook was meant to be a social media thing, and you know all the story behind, like how Mark created the app for his college, all the girls' photographs and all of that thing. So it was meant for the same purpose. It diverted into something else. Instagram also similar thing, share photos and all of that, and people commenting all the different things on a woman's photo, people messaging them, men in particular messaging women with all the ridiculous and non-ridiculous things. So where does Tinder fall in it? Tinder tries to make the women feel secure. Women is their priority. It's not a dating application for men and women. It's a dating application for women. You cannot chat with a woman unless the woman likes you as well. Okay. So this is the basic thing that Tinder tried to solve. How can they make women feel more secure? Okay. So they identified the problem behind this, right? So identification of the problem and know who your user is. User is not men and women both. User is just the women. एक बार, see, just imagine a situation if all the women feel secure and they start using this product. Okay, so all the women will start using the product. Then what other solution will men, single men who want to date, have other than joining Tinder? It's like men following women, not the other way around where both of them come in and try to do left and right, and if there is a match, they go on for a date. It was supposed to be a woman's application. It is still a woman's application. It makes them feel secure. That's what this entire thing is about. Okay, so why? I mean, there are a lot of applications now. Bumble hai, ye hai, kuch hai. I don't use them. I was just surveying right now, and there are a lot of applications. And I was just scratching my head. मतलब, सभी एप्लीकेशन सेम चीज सॉल्व करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, बट व्हाई इज टिंडर स्टिल वर्किंग better than the others? So there were a few features which they thought would be good to improve the experience on Tinder. The first being geofencing. Okay, I being in a particular place cannot see or swipe women who are outside my geofence, maybe 30 kilometer or maybe 50 kilometers. Okay, I cannot, if I'm in Bangalore, I cannot look someone who is in Delhi or who is in Mumbai, right? So that geofencing works well because practically you are meant to date. So अगर मतलब long distance के लिए तो है नहीं ये चीज. So geofencing worked quite good for Tinder and better algorithms. So I don't know if a lot of you know how the algorithm works, but Tinder tries to show the most attractive faces to you first. ठीक है? So मतलब me and my friends used to मतलब ऐसे ही मजे के लिए we used to use it in our college time. So starting में अच्छे faces आते हैं, धीरे 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 I don't know how their image processing algorithm works. Okay, I don't know the details, but this is what their algorithm is meant to be, so that you keep on using it. So every time you open Tinder after some delay, so it shows you good faces, it shows you attractive faces. So that is how their algorithm works, which tries to capture you. And then the best part is a single click. And trust me when I say, I checked out the other applications as well. None of them is as fast as Tinder is. It is almost, it gives you a 10x experience as compared to the other applications. मतलब just single click, create your account, upload photos, and you're good to go. मतलब फिर left right ही करना है और कुछ नहीं करना है. So in this way, Tinder works better. Even their swipe is faster. Talking about the swipe speeds, the swipe speed is much faster than the other applications. So see, the point about talking about this thing in a dev talk is that the strengths that the developers went while thinking on their product. They obviously wanted to prioritize the woman. There is no second doubt in it. Okay. But they wanted to make it a good experience for both the genders, men and women. Okay. So the details that you go through, like geofencing hai, matlab, it makes no sense to date someone who is outside your geographical boundaries. Okay, then better algorithms, obviously, matlab, if the first face that you see is not attractive, I'm not going to judge it because that's what the application is. Okay, so ऐसा मत सोचना कि मतलब अंशुल बोल रहा है कि पहला फेस है तो अट्रैक्टिव नहीं है या है करके. It's what the algorithm is. So they thought about it in a particular way. पहला फेस मतलब जो भी first few faces are there, they should be attractive so that the user is engaged. जो भी retention span होता है use करने का application, it's better, it's good, so that the user uses it again. And single click, the swiping speed is fast, so there is no second thoughts about it. So in this way, they thought through all the features. They gathered all the requirements first. ठीक है, किसके लिए करना है, क्या करना है, कितना करना है. They tried to gather everything and then tried to build their product. Okay, so I already asked you this question: who is this application for? So let me give you another example, so that मतलब बात थोड़ी सी clear ज़्यादा होगी. Talk about Uber. Who is the application for? Uber. Is it for you trying to find a ride? It's the other way around. It's for the drivers. It's trying to compensate them in a proper way so that they don't need to go around searching for rides. ठीक है? They just need to open the application and ride अपने आप आती है. They just need to drive to a particular place. वरना मतलब before Uber was there, I have not seen a lot of taxis apart from Mumbai and Delhi because I was born and brought up in Gujarat. तो यहाँ पे इतनी taxis नहीं होती है, but there are rickshaws. So they keep on traveling on streets, creating traffic. मतलब बीच में रुक जाते हैं ride ढूंढने के लिए and all of that. So all of these problems were solved by a single application, Uber, which was meant for the drivers and not for the passengers. ठीक है? Starting वहां से हुआ था, फिर passenger safety and all of those features came later. मतलब after all the issues popped up, they tried to rectify and remedify the application and tried to incorporate all the other features. But it was meant for drivers. अब सारे drivers एक application पे चले गए हैं. So you as a passenger need to start using that application, right? So the application made you as a passenger chase the drivers through that particular application. The same thing went with Tinder. It was meant for women, and men who wanted to reach women had to go through the path of Tinder in order to date them. So this is what they thought through. मतलब ये उबर का एक डिसेंट सा एग्जांपल दे दिया, टिंडर का भी एक एग्जांपल दे दिया. सो identifying who the actual user is really important. मतलब I as passenger always thought that it was meant to solve our problems कि मतलब रिक्शा नहीं मिल रही है, टैक्सी नहीं मिल रही है तो उबर पे ढूंढते हैं, but it's the other way around, which I never thought of. Okay, so this is an interesting thing how actually the developers think through, which we also, मतलब मेरा career भी it's like less than 2 years, so I don't have that much thinking capacity for this particular applications, right? So there are a lot of edtech startups. Okay, so who do you think this edtech, मतलब let's talk about Unacademy, right? Unacademy surely wants to spread knowledge among all the users. Okay, forget about Unacademy as well. Let's talk about YouTube. Okay, who was YouTube meant for? Was it meant for the viewers or was it meant for the content creators? Same about LinkedIn. Was it meant for the viewers or was it meant for the content creators? अब content create YouTube पे होगा तो you as viewers have no other option than to go to YouTube. So that is what identification of user is really important. So yeah, so that is what my case study was all about. थोड़ा time गया, but yeah. So what is software engineering here, right? So first thing, identify the user, crystal clear होना चाहिए कि किसके लिए बना रहे हो, ठीक है? If it's for a man, the application could have been a little sexist, but it's meant for women, so we can see feminism everywhere. Based on geofencing, based on the security that man cannot message women first and all of those things. So it's a feminist application. क्रिएट अ डिजाइन प्लान, क्या फीचर्स चाहिए, क्या फीचर्स चाहिए उससे पहले क्यों होना जरूरी है, वाई डू वी नीड दैट फीचर, ठीक है? एंड देन क्रिएट अ कोडिंग प्लान, वो तो हम सबको आता है कोड करना, तो उसकी बात नहीं करेंगे, कोडिंग प्लान हो गया. एंड देन अंडरस्टैंड योर टेस्टिंग क्राइटेरिया, टेस्ट किस चीज पे करना है तुम्हें, राइट? फॉर एग्जाम्पल लेट्स टॉक अबाउट चेंज इन ए यूआई, ठीक है? So I'm going to increase my font or change the color or change the font family or something like that, ठीक है? Circular framework से मैं square framework में जा रहा हूँ, anything like that. So I need to know what exactly I want to test, and testing is really important because मतलब आपने एक feature change कर दिया, उसका दूसरा version निकाल दिया, but you don't test it thoroughly. Alpha beta testing नहीं किया है, unit test नहीं है, end to end testing नहीं है, manual testing नहीं है, beta testing नहीं है. So things are likely to suck after a while if you don't test it thoroughly through every iteration. So testing is really important, which we in college never did. I never did, मतलब मैंने तो कभी नहीं किया था, and I started to learn its importance only after I joined Google, ठीक है? Because certain things. So see, at these large companies also there are some features which roll out without proper testing, and the problems that we face right now. So last week only we were working on something and a issue broke up, एंड वी रियलाइज दैट उसकी टेस्टिंग करी ही नहीं गई है, मतलब कम ज्यादा नहीं, करी ही नहीं गई है, एंड द इश्यू पॉप्ड अप. Luckily it was not in production yet, we caught it in an early stage, but testing is really important, and that is the message that I want to pass. Not a lot of options of how you can test a product while you are still in college, but at least you can think about it. मतलब data structures and algorithms तो करते ही है हम, right? So we just try to solve the problem, we don't try to test our algorithms. Test तो ठीक है, मतलब code forces है, code chef है, वो लोग test करके देंगे ही हमें, right? But testing is really important before you try to submit your code, ठीक है? But competitive programming की वजह से मतलब वो जो speed वाला factor होता है उसमें testing थोड़ा सा पीछे रह जाता है, but that is captured very well in a technical interview. और टेक्निकल इंटरव्यू पे भी आता है, बट क्विकली गोइंग थ्रू अ सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग लाइफ साइकिल, ठीक है? हाउ वी डू थिंग्स एट गूगल और इन माई टीम पर्टिकुलरली. We first gather the product requirements and draft it into a PRD, which is known as product requirements document. We know, we understand who the user is, what do they want, and why do they want. Then the PRD is locked. We go for a design approval. कि मतलब this is how a user journey will be like, and this is how our systems will interact. And then we draft a design document, detailed design document after we get the design approval. फिर उसका security, privacy and legal review होता है. It's really important for anything. For example, you are trying to build a dating application only, let's say. So legal review is really important because there are, in different countries there are different laws. Okay, if you're going to launch a product in US or versus India, both the legal reviews will be quite different, both the privacy reviews will be quite different. So not, I don't know how much you know about the privacy thing and all of that, but recently European Union came up with a requirement कि मतलब यूरोप का डेटा यूरोप में ही रहना चाहिए, it should not remain outside इन अदर कॉन्टिनेंट्स, मतलब जो दूसरे कॉन्टिनेंट्स में जो डेटा सेंटर होते हैं उसमें उनका डेटा नहीं रहना चाहिए. सो डिफरेंट प्लेसेस हैव डिफरेंट लॉज, डिफरेंट पॉलिसीज, एंड ऑल ऑफ दीज रिव्यूज आर रियली इंपॉर्टेंट. And before you start coding, the testing plan should be prepared, because you know what is supposed to happen, right? You already know through the design document that this is how a user journey will happen. So उसका टेस्टिंग प्लान पहले ही क्रिएटेड होना इज रियली इंपॉर्टेंट. सो जब जब आप कोड करते हो, इंक्रीमेंटल चेंजेस ऐड करते हो, सो द टेस्ट आर ऑलरेडी इन प्लेस और द टेस्टिंग प्लान इज ऑलरेडी इन प्लेस, सो दैट अगर कुछ मतलब फटता है या कुछ बिगड़ता है, सो यू ऑलरेडी कैच इट बिफोर इट रोल्स आउट टू प्रोडक्शन. ठीक है. कोडिंग के साथ साथ टेस्टिंग होती है, ऐसा नहीं है टेस्टिंग बाद में करते. इट्स अ इंक्रीमेंटल प्रोसेस. कोडिंग किया, टेस्टिंग किया, कोडिंग किया, टेस्टिंग किया, एंड along with that there is a slow rollout. You don't roll out a product to 100% customers in one go. ठीक है. कभी कभी आपने देखा होगा कि एक पर्टिकुलर फीचर तुम्हारे दोस्त को दिख रहा है लेकिन तुम्हें नहीं दिख रहा है, राइट? इंस्टाग्राम पे काफी बार ऐसा होता है, मतलब रील्स किसी मतलब तुम्हारे दोस्त को दिख रही है लेकिन रील्स अभी तुम्हें नहीं दिख रही है. So that's due to slow rollout. They don't roll out to 100% customers at one go. 1%, 5%, 10%. Every company has their own policies about their rollouts. And then comes the maintenance part. कि जो चल रहा है वैसा तो चलना ही चाहिए एटलीस्ट, उसको सुधारने का बाद में देखते हैं. बट मेंटेनेंस इज रियली रियली इंपॉर्टेंट एंड बोरिंग, ट्रस्ट मी. सो दिस इज व्हाट सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग इज. एंड नाउ वी विल जंप ऑन टू टेक इंटरव्यू. ठीक है. सो किसी के पास सॉल्यूशन है तो वो लोग दे सकते हैं, बट आई एम नॉट एक्सपेक्टिंग अ सॉल्यूशन इन दिस. आई एम जस्ट गोइंग टू टेल यू हाउ टेक्निकल इंटरव्यूज ट्राई टू ग्रेस्प सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग इन अ नटशेल. ठीक है. आई हैव हर्ड अ लॉट ऑफ डिबेट्स ऑन लिंक्डइन एंड यूट्यूब कि मतलब आई एम नॉट यूजिंग डेटा स्ट्रक्चर्स एंड एल्गोरिथम्स इन माय कंपनी, तो टेक्निकल इंटरव्यूज में डीएसए के क्वेश्चंस क्यों पूछते हैं? टू बी ऑनेस्ट, मतलब आई हैव आल्सो नॉट ट्राइड टू यूज सेक्ट्री at Google. I have not tried to use a lot of data structures. I mean, stacks or queues, वो तो constantly करते हैं use, but a lot of heavy data structures, I have not used them. A lot of heavy algorithms, I have not used them. But what is the purpose of asking them in a technical interview then, right? So ये particular question है, ठीक है? I don't even know what the question is exactly. I just know that it can be solved using binary search. ठीक है, मैंने पूरा उसको पढ़ा भी नहीं है. But the essence is, in a technical interview, when you get a question, how do you respond to it? ठीक है. You first read the question, understand what the requirements are. See, if you try to simulate it, it's as similar as gathering the PRD, product requirements document. So what problem are you trying to solve? For who तो इसमें मतलब who के लिए necessity नहीं है, but what exactly you are trying to solve. ठीक है. What all the constraints are there, मतलब it says that we have to paint n boards of length A1, A2 and AN. So n boards है, कितने boards हो सकते हैं? 10 board है, 100 board है, 1000 है. What's the scale of those boards? There are k painters available. So what's the range of the painters? Can it be greater than n? Will it be less than equal to n? Will it be less than n? So वो सारी चीजें. So this problem in particular is quite well explained, but there will be a lot of problems asked to you in a technical interview जो इतनी well explained नहीं होगी. उसमें ambiguity होगी, vagueness होगी, और वो सारी चीजें आपको nitpick करके पूछनी है, so that you accumulate a product requirement document which is as similar to a software engineering life cycle. ठीक है. सो पहले सारी इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट कर ली. ठीक है. कैन देयर बी जीरो बोर्ड्स? इट्स आल्सो पॉसिबल. कैन देयर बी जीरो पेंटर्स? ओके, जीरो पेंटर्स हो सकते हैं, तो फिर उसका रिजल्ट क्या, रिटर्न क्या है? जीरो रिटर्न करना है या -1 रिटर्न करना है या माइनस क्या, मतलब एक्स वाई जेड, राइट? देयर कैन बी अ लॉट ऑफ एज केसेस. क्या रिटर्न करना है, क्या इनपुट हो सकता है, लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स. सो इनपुट एंड आउटपुट, ऑल दोज रिक्वायरमेंट्स विल बी कंफर्म्ड फर्स्ट, एंड देन यू थिंक. जो डिजाइन अप्रूवल की बात थी ना, वो अब आती है कि कौन सा एल्गोरिदम चूज करना है, कौन सा डेटा स्ट्रक्चर चूज करना है. यू थिंक अबाउट इट कि चलो इसमें मैं क्या के पॉइंटर्स यूज कर सकता हूँ. आई कैन यूज के पॉइंटर्स, राइट? इट इज अ ब्रूट फोर्स सॉल्यूशन. आई विल ट्राई टू इटरेट थ्रू ऑल द सॉल्यूशंस एंड फाइंड आउट व्हिच इज द मिनिमम टाइम टू गेट द जॉब डन अंडर द कंस्ट्रेंट्स. ओके. सो के पॉइंटर्स यूज कर सकता हूँ. देन यू आस्क द इंटरव्यूअर के आई एम थिंकिंग कि मतलब शायद के पॉइंटर्स यूज कर सकते हैं. Then the interviewer will be like, what is going to be the time complexity and the space complexity? So time complexity is going to be n cross k. Space complexity is going to be order n only because I'm using just one array. So the interviewer will be like, nahi, itna to nahi chalega. You need to optimize on the time complexity part. So there is the design approval that you are going through. तुम्हें मालूम नहीं है, but तुम तब सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग कर रहे हो. ठीक है. A lot of people will be like कि मतलब ग्राफ तो मैं यूज ही नहीं करता हूँ, मैं तो फ्रंट एंड डेवलपर हूँ, मैं तो बैक एंड डेवलपर हूँ, तो यहाँ पे कुछ काम ही नहीं आ रहा है. सो इट्स अबाउट हाउ यू इंजीनियर अ पर्टिकुलर थिंग. तुम काम क्या करते हो, यूआई यूएक्स इंजीनियर हो या बैक एंड इंजीनियर हो, इट डजंट मैटर. इंजीनियरिंग कर रहे हो ना, तो इंजीनियरिंग में ये सारी चीजें आती है. you need to go through each and every step. ठीक है, सो डिजाइन अप्रूवल कर रहे हो, देन यू फाइनली लॉक ऑन टू बाइनरी सर्च, ठीक है, बाइनरी सर्च करेंगे, के लॉग एन में सॉल्व करेंगे इस पूरी प्रॉब्लम को, ठीक है, देन द इंटरव्यूअर विल बी लाइक दैट ओके यू आर फाइन टू प्रोसीड विद इट. सो तुमने डिजाइन डिस्कस की, डिजाइन को अप्रूव कराया, डिजाइन डॉक्यूमेंट इसमें नहीं है बट यू स्टिल हैव अ कोडिंग प्लान, ठीक है, व्हाइल लूप करना है, ये वो वेरिएबल है, यू हैव एवरीथिंग इन योर माइंड. सो वो सारी चीजें जैसे जैसे कोड कर रहे हो वैसे वैसे बताते जाना है, ये वाली चीज इस चीज के लिए है, दिस इज द पर्पस ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर वेरिएबल, दिस इज द पर्पस ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर थिंग, ठीक है. और साथ ही में टू एक्सप्लेन योर एल्गोरिदम, ठीक है, दोनों चीज के लिए, इंटरव्यूअर को समझाने के लिए भी और खुद को समझने के लिए भी, यू शुड हैव सम टेस्ट केसेस ऑलरेडी प्रिपेयर्ड बिफोर यू स्टार्ट कोडिंग, क्योंकि तुम्हें इनपुट और आउटपुट तो पता ही है कि इस इनपुट का ये आउटपुट है. सो यू कैन प्रिपेयर ऑल द टेस्ट केसेस पहले से, बाउंड्री केसेस है, कोई भी एज केसेस है, और कोई भी ब्रूट फोर्स केसेस है, राइट, मतलब अगर n का ऑर्डर 10:9 है, सो यू नीड टू हैव अ टेस्ट केस ऑफ द सेम स्केल. सो ऑल दोस टेस्ट केसेस यू प्रिपेयर इट, और जैसे जैसे कोड कर रहे हो, कोई एक इफ कंडीशन ऐड करी, कोई एक व्हाइल लूप ऐड किया, सो जस्ट टेस्ट इट थ्रू, just make sure that you don't miss any of the test cases, you don't miss any of the boundary cases. पूरा कोड कर लिया, then do a dry run कि these are the test cases and this is how the algorithm will work, मतलब ये डेटा स्ट्रक्चर ऐसे बिहेव करेगा, ये एल्गोरिदम में ये वाला पार्ट ऐसे बिहेव करेगा, राइट. एंड आई थिंक दैट इज हाउ अ टेक्निकल इंटरव्यू शुड बी, राइट. सो yeah, and now coming to my story, okay, I can see a lot of questions already, but yeah, मेरी स्टोरी बहुत ही छोटी सी और सिंपल सी है, ठीक है, it will not take a lot of time. So how did I end up at IIIT Hyderabad? First of all, like any Indian kid, I had the aspiration to go for IIT, and that was seeded to me by my father. So उस चीज़ के लिए मैं काफ़ी थैंकफुल हूँ कि मैंने प्रिपरेशन करी अच्छे से, एंड आई कुड एटलीस्ट लैंड अप इन IIIT हैदराबाद. सो IIT बॉम्बे में जाना था, और तब मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग करनी थी, तब इतना कुछ था नहीं, मतलब कंप्यूटर तो यूज़ किया भी नहीं था, सी प्लस प्लस जावा क्या होता है वो भी नहीं पता था, बट मैकेनिकल पता था क्या होता है, फिजिक्स होता है, ये वो मैथ्स होता है, वो सब होता है, तो वो सब तो आता था पहले से ही, मतलब मैथ्स आता है, फिजिक्स आता है, वो सब तो तैयारी कर ही रहे थे तब के तब. सो आई वांटेड टू बी अ मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर एट IIT बॉम्बे. मेंस की एग्जाम अच्छी गई थी, फिर बिट सेट दी थी मैंने तब, तो वो भी अच्छी गई थी, और दोनों के बेसिस पे, मेंस के बेसिस पे मेरे को IIIT हैदराबाद तभी मिल रहा था, जस्ट आफ्टर द मेंस, एंड बिट सेट के बाद भी मेरे को बिट्स पिलानी में कंप्यूटर साइंस मिल रहा था. सो तब पापा ने बोला कि दीज आर योर ऑप्शंस व्हिच यू ऑलरेडी हैव बिफोर योर एडवांस, ठीक है. सो तब तब मैं थोड़ा सा डिस्ट्रैक्ट या डाइवर्ट या जो भी बोलूँ वो होने लगा, कि मतलब ऑब्वियसली आई न्यू दैट इट वाज अ booming stream, computer science, and I have an option to work at great colleges like BITS and IIIT. So why not? So थोड़ा सा डिस्ट्रैक्ट हो गया, और उसी चलते चलते एडवांस उतनी अच्छी नहीं गई. आई वॉज एबल टू गेट इन टू न्यू IITs कंप्यूटर साइंस बट नॉट ओल्ड IITs. सो फिर सोचा कि लेट्स गो विथ IIIT हैदराबाद. आई विजिटेड बोथ द कैंपसेस एंड आई फाउंड IIIT हैदराबाद great because of the city culture, because of the tech culture, because of the coding culture. So as compared to BITS Pilani, I chose IIIT Hyderabad, and I don't regret that decision. Okay. Talking about the first couple of years at IIIT Hyderabad, so मतलब तब तो जेई करके ही आए थे, राइट, और कुछ तो आता नहीं था. एकेडमिक्स आती है, पढ़ना है, एग्जाम देनी है, पढ़ना है, एग्जाम देनी है, दैट्स इट. कभी मतलब उतना कोई कल्चरल इवेंट या वो सब तो कुछ देखा नहीं था, तो वो सब मालूम भी नहीं था. तो सीनियर्स खींच के ले गए थे फ्रेशर्स के लिए, सो तब फ्रेशर्स में पार्टिसिपेट किया, विच वाज अ ग्रेट एक्सपीरियंस. बट स्टिल माय माइंड वाज स्टिल फोकस्ड ऑन एकेडमिक्स, कि पढ़ते हैं, एग्जाम देते हैं, खत्म कहानी. प्लेसमेंट के लिए क्या कर, डीएसए, कोडिंग, वो सब इतना कुछ मालूम नहीं था. बट आई हैड गुड पीयर्स, ठीक है. आई सॉ पीपल अराउंड मी, सम ऑफ देम वेर ऑलरेडी लाइक आईओआई से आए थे, राइट, इंटरनेशनल ओलंपियाड फॉर इन्फॉर्मेटिक्स. सो आईओआई से आए थे, दे वर गुड बंच ऑफ फ्रेंड्स. तो कोई कॉम्पिटेटिव प्रोग्रामिंग कर रहा है, कोई ऑलरेडी बच्चों को पढ़ा रहा है, राइट. अ पर्सन हु इज इन फर्स्ट ईयर, ही इज टीचिंग समवन हु इज इन थर्ड एंड फोर्थ ईयर. सो आई फाइंड दैट प्रीटी स्ट्रेंज, आई फाउंड दैट प्रीटी स्ट्रेंज कि ये मतलब हो क्या रहा है IIIT हैदराबाद में. कोई वेब डेवलपमेंट कर रहा है, कोई जीसॉक फर्स्ट ईयर में क्रैक कर रहा है. सो दीज वर ऑल न्यू थिंग्स टू मी देन, ठीक है. सो आई वांटेड टू डू ऑल ऑफ दोस थिंग्स ऑब्वियसली, बट कर नहीं सकते, वो भी मतलब कॉमन सेंस की बात है कि सारी चीज तो कैसे ही करेंगे. तो तब एकेडमिक्स पे तो स्ट्रॉन्ग फोकस था ही, साथ ही साथ कॉम्पिटिटिव प्रोग्रामिंग शुरू किया, ठीक है. कॉम्पिटिटिव प्रोग्रामिंग में मजा आ रहा था, वो ग्रीन टिक आती है, सक्सेस आता है, वो सब देख के मजा आ रहा था. सो दैट वाज अ स्टिम्युलस, एंड माय फ्रेंड्स अराउंड मी वर आल्सो डूइंग द सेम थिंग. So it was a good bunch. We all did competitive programming साथ में. एक चीज है, मतलब इफ यू हैव सीन कोटा फैक्ट्री, कोटा इंडस्ट्री जो भी नाम है उसका, तो जीतू भैया बोलते हैं पीयर प्रेशर बुरी बात नहीं है, ठीक है. इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट दैट योर पीयर्स आर गुड, एंड दैट इज व्हाट आई हैव फेल्ट इन माय एक्सपीरियंस एट ट्रिपल आईटी हैदराबाद. इफ यू हैव गुड पीयर्स देन पीयर प्रेशर इज नॉट अ बैड थिंग, इट्स अ ग्रेट थिंग. एंड दैट इज व्हाट वर्कड फॉर मी. माय पीयर्स वेर वेरी गुड, दे वर कॉम्पिटिटिव ऑब्वियसली, बट उनसे मेरे को काफी चीजें सीखने को मिली. आई ट्राइड आउट डिफरेंट स्ट्रीम्स बिकॉज ऑफ देम. फॉर द फर्स्ट 2 years ऑब्वियसली, मतलब वेब डेवलपमेंट किया, जीसॉप की प्रिपरेशन की, क्रैक नहीं हुआ, अप्लाई भी नहीं किया था इनफैक्ट, बट आई ट्राइड डिफरेंट थिंग्स. एंड देन इन माय थर्ड ईयर ऑनवर्ड्स आई वाज लाइक कि मतलब कितना एकेडमिक एकेडमिक करेंगे. अच्छा सीजीपीए था, दैट वाज नॉट एन इश्यू, बट आई वांटेड टू डू समथिंग एल्स. आई ऑलरेडी वेस्टेड और यूटिलाइज्ड हाफ ऑफ माय कॉलेज लाइफ. आई ओनली हैड द हाफ रिमेनिंग, ठीक है. कुछ तो करना है, खुद कुछ मन का करना है. एंड आई वाज ऑलरेडी अट्रैक्टेड बाय व्हाट अमेजिंग थिंग्स डेटा कैन डू, मशीन लर्निंग कैन डू. सो वो चीज़ एक बार ट्राई तो करनी ही थी. सो मशीन लर्निंग का कोर्स किया, थोड़ा बहुत डेटा स्ट्रक्चर्स किया खुद अपने आप से, मतलब कहीं से डेटा उठाया, कुछ कुछ किया सीख के. और फिर रिसर्च, मतलब इट वाज नॉट एन ऑप्शन फॉर अस एट ट्रिपल आईटी हैदराबाद, क्योंकि बीटीपी प्रोजेक्ट्स करने होते हैं या तो ऑनर्स करना होता है, कुछ ना कुछ करना होता है. सो देन स्लोली स्लोली आई ट्राई टू डू सर्टेन थिंग्स इन रिसर्च फील्ड एज वेल. कुछ कुछ पेपर्स छापे, कुछ कुछ पोस्टर प्रेजेंटेशन किया, ये वो किया. सो रिसर्च में भी ट्राई किया. एंड देन केम दी एडोबी इंटर्नशिप. तब मैंने रिसर्च नहीं किया था. व्हेन आई जॉइंड एडोबी एज एन इंटर्न, आई वाज नॉट having any clue about what research is or what machine learning is and what deep learning is. And तब सीधा ही मेरे को फेंक दिया कि पेटेंट निकालनी है, डीप लर्निंग का प्रोजेक्ट है. सो आई वाज लाइक आई डोंट नो एनीथिंग. ए भी नहीं मालूम है, जेड तक तो कैसे जाऊंगा पता नहीं. तो सीखा कुछ कुछ अपने आप ही, मतलब घर, मतलब जहाँ पे रेंटेड था मैं वहाँ पे जाके भी मतलब चीज़ें सीख रहा हूँ मैं, कैसे करना है, क्या करना है. ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट द एग्जिस्टिंग स्टेट ऑफ द आर्ट वर्क इज, एग्जिस्टिंग रिसर्च क्या कह रहा है, व्हाट ऑल मॉडल्स आर देयर राइट नाउ, ट्राई टू एक्सपेरिमेंट विद देम एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. एंड बिलीव मी, 10 weeks internship, 9th week तक कुछ भी नहीं हुआ था. देयर वाज अ टीम ऑफ 2 people, me and one another intern, and he was also like crazy smart, ठीक है. फिर भी कुछ नहीं हो रहा था. एंड देन वन आइडिया, मतलब ऐसे ही मेरे को एक आइडिया आया कि इस एल्गोरिथम में ये चेंज करते हैं डेटा जनरेशन के लिए. एंड रिजल्ट स्टार्टेड कमिंग इन. ही वाज आल्सो वर्किंग ऑन द मॉडल, ही आल्सो ट्वीक्ड अ सर्टेन थिंग्स, एंड देन रिजल्ट्स वर कमिंग अमेजिंग. एंड लास्ट 1 week में हमने पेटेंट के लिए फाइल किया और वो अप्रूव हो गई. सो देयर आर सर्टेन थिंग्स, यू कीप ऑन पुशिंग हार्ड इनफ, चीजें होती है. देर आए दुरुस्त आए जैसे बोलते हैं ना, वैसे होती तो है ही डेफिनेटली. एंड दैट्स व्हाट आई हैव लर्नड. एंड गलतियां भी काफी करी है, मतलब एकेडमिक्स पे ज्यादा फोकस किया है, ठीक है. एकेडमिक्स आर इम्पोर्टेंट, बट कॉलेज लाइफ के भी खुद के मजे हैं, राइट. यू कैन नॉट ऑप्ट आउट ऑफ दैट एक्सपीरियंस जस्ट बिकॉज यू आर स्टडिंग डे एंड नाइट इन योर +2, ठीक है. तो वो गलती थी. फिर इंटर्नशिप के टाइप, मतलब एडोबी वाज माय 6th क्रैक एट टेक्निकल इंटरव्यू. सो दैट वाज अनदर थिंग. मतलब इंटरव्यू अच्छे नहीं जा रहा था. आई वाज गेटिंग शॉर्टलिस्टेड फॉर ईच एंड एवरी कंपनी, एंड माय फ्रेंड्स वर मॉकिंग मी, हंस रहे थे कि यार तू क्वालिफाई तो करता है इंटरव्यूज के लिए लेकिन क्लियर नहीं कर पाता है, तो एक सीट हमारे लिए भी बचा दे, हम तो क्वालिफाई भी नहीं कर रहे इंटरव्यूज के लिए, तो हम शायद चांस दे और तेरे से पहले इंटरव्यू निकाल दे. सो आई ऑल्सो यूज टू लाफ अलॉन्ग विद देम, बट वो चीज कहीं ना कहीं खटक रही थी कि मतलब यार कोडिंग आता है, कोडिंग राउंड निकल रहे हैं, तो इंटरव्यू में ऐसा मैं क्या गलत कर रहा हूँ. देन आई रियलाइज दैट आई वाज नॉट एबल टू कम्युनिकेट. कोड तो सही था लेकिन वो कम्युनिकेट ही नहीं किया. जो डिजाइन अप्रूवल की बात करी मैंने, राइट. फिर वो जो चीजें दैट यू कीप ऑन टॉकिंग अबाउट व्हेन यू आर कोडिंग, कि ये क्यों किया, ये किया, ये वो नहीं किया, एंड ऑल ऑफ दोस थिंग्स. सो वो सारी चीजें भी करनी इंपॉर्टेंट है. यू कैन नॉट जस्ट कोड दिस स्टफ अप एंड ओके हो गया करके, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है. एंड दैट इज द थिंग विच आई रेक्टिफाइड इन माई प्लेसमेंट्स. और इंटर्नशिप और प्लेसमेंट के बीच में आई वाज अ टीचिंग असिस्टेंट विच प्लेड अ वाइटल रोल. मतलब मैं बच्चों को पढ़ा रहा हूँ, राइट. तो समझाने वाली चीज और पढ़ाने वाली चीज प्लेसमेंट में ट्रांसलेट हुई इन द टेक्निकल इंटरव्यूज, व्हिच वाज वेरी हेल्पफुल. एंड माय फ्रेंड्स, ओके, मैं जितना बोलूँ फ्रेंड्स के लिए कम रहेगा, बिकॉज दे वर विथ मी फ्रॉम स्टार्टिंग टू एंड, ठीक है. प्लेसमेंट्स में वो लोग भी मेरे साथ है, सेम कंपनीज के लिए अप्लाई कर रहे हैं, बट नहीं, जब मेरा गूगल में सिलेक्शन हुआ दे वर हैप्पियर देन मी. आई वाज लाइक ये क्या हो रहा है, राइट. उनका शाम को मतलब दे नीड टू गो फॉर अ कोडिंग राउंड एंड दे वर लाइक चलो पार्टी करते हैं, लंच पे जाते हैं एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. सो यू नीड सच फ्रेंड्स, ठीक है. वरना ये जो स्टोरी मैंने हाउ आई एंड अप एट ट्रिपल आईटी से लेके प्लेसमेंट्स तक करी, दैट्स good for nothing if you don't have good friends to spend your college time with. And in all the sessions that I conduct, I always say this one thing: you are the average of the 5 people closest to you. ठीक है? So अगर तुम अच्छे लोगों के साथ, those who can lift you up, those who are above you, ठीक है, उनके साथ अगर तुम टाइम स्पेंड नहीं करते हो, सो ग्रोइंग नहीं होगी उस केस में। ठीक है, अगर ग्रो करना है तो यू नीड टू बी अराउंड पियर्स विच गिव यू पॉजिटिव वाइब्स एंड हु आर स्मार्टर देन यू, बिकॉज इफ यू आर स्मार्टेस्ट वन इन द रूम देन यू आर इन द रॉन्ग रूम, राइट? सो ये थी मेरी आत्मकथा कॉलेज टाइम की, और नाउ वी विल शूट ऑन टू द क्वेश्चंस. I think Hisham and Anushka, you can pop inside and you can moderate the questions that needs to be asked. I would be happy to answer them. I'll just turn off my screen share now. Hisham, you're in mute, I guess.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. So that was an amazing session, Anshul, and I think I got, I got a lot of product thinking ideas, and I mean, that was amazing. And we have way too many questions. I mean, our YouTube audience has been quite amazing. So we're going to have the questions in banners come up here, and yeah, Anushka, over to you.
Thank you so much for taking this time out. This speech was really amazing. We have so many questions. The first one being, what are the common data structures you have used so far in your career?
So talking just about Google, the primary ones that I have used have been vectors, sets, and queues. Queues a lot. A lot I have used queues and priority queues, to be honest. So yeah.
All right, all right. The next question, it'll also be coming up in a banner here. Right. So the question, I mean, it says that do we need to really prepare for system design for technical interviews, or like DSA and having some dev knowledge is enough for it?
So that thing varies from company to company, because we at Google have been told not to ask system design questions strictly, but there will be a lot of companies, because मैंने इंटरव्यू दिया था डी शो में, तो वहाँ पे वो लोग सिस्टम डिजाइन पे काफी ज्यादा फोकस करते हैं, oops principles and all of that. So it depends on company to company. It's always good to understand what the oops principles are, वो पूछे जाए या ना पूछे जाए, but focus primarily on DSA.
Right, right. Okay, that is amazing.
The next question is, what language and skill should we go for to get into Google?
So languages, I think any industry standard language like C++, Java, Python, JavaScript should be good to go. गूगल में जाने के बाद आप काफी चीजें लर्न करते हो. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मतलब आई वॉज गुड एंड डिसेंट इन C++, जावा, मतलब एंड पाइथन एज वेल. जावा के साथ इतना कुछ खेलना होता नहीं था कॉलेज में. But here in Google, the servers are primarily coded in C++ and Java. So there is a heavy bulk that we code in Java. तो वो सारी चीजें सीखने की अपने आप हो जाती है. Because if you can code up in one language, उसका grammar same ही होता है, right? For loop, while loop, if conditions, वो सारी चीजें same ही रहती है. So if you know any of the industry standard languages, any language you can learn quickly.
Right, right,
Thank
right.
you.
This is the one big question that we get from freshers always, that should they do competitive programming or should they do something else apart from that?
ठीक है, यहाँ पे काफी सारे यूट्यूबर्स बहस करेंगे, काफी सारे लिंक्डइन पे लोग बहस करेंगे, बट टॉकिंग फ्रॉम माई एक्सपीरियंस इज ऑलवेज गुड टू ट्राई सर्टेन थिंग्स आउट. ठीक है, ट्राई तो करो, एटलीस्ट कॉम्पिटेटिव प्रोग्रामिंग ट्राई करो. मैंने अगर ट्राई नहीं किया होता, आई एम नॉट श्योर इफ आई वुड बी एट गूगल और नॉट, टू बी ऑनेस्ट. दिस इज द फैक्ट. ठीक है, जरूरी है या नहीं है, आई विल टेल यू, जरूरी नहीं है. ठीक है, जरूरी बिल्कुल नहीं है, बट अगर आप पूछ रहे हो कि ट्राई करना चाहिए या नहीं करना चाहिए, डेफिनेटली यू शुड गो फॉर इट. क्योंकि मतलब मैं इसका रीजन भी बताता हूँ, ठीक है, बिफोर यू पॉप दैट क्वेश्चन आउट. इसका रीजन भी सिंपल सा है कि इन कॉम्पिटिटिव प्रोग्रामिंग यू डोंट नो, मतलब क्वेश्चन एक नया सा ही आएगा, राइट? पैटर्न शायद सिमुलेटेड होगी इधर उधर कहीं पे पहले देखी होगी, बट द क्वेश्चन विल बी फ्रेश एंड यू हैव अ टाइम कॉन्स्टेंट कि मतलब आधे घंटे में इसको सॉल्व करना है या 1.5 घंटे में सॉल्व करना है, डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द टाइप ऑफ द कॉन्टेस्ट. सो वो चीज इंटरव्यू के साथ काफी सिमिलर होती है. उसमें भी 45 to 50 मिनट्स का इंटरव्यू होता है. एक अननोन सी प्रॉब्लम होती है, उसके टेस्ट केस भी आपको मालूम नहीं है. यू डोंट नो इफ द प्रॉब्लम विल बी सॉल्व करेक्टली और नॉट. तो उसमें टेस्टिंग भी आपकी चेक हो जाती है कॉम्पिटिटिव प्रोग्रामिंग में, एक्यूरेसी भी चेक हो जाती है और स्पीड भी चेक हो जाती है. सो देयर इज नो हार्म इन ट्राइंग आउट कॉम्पिटिटिव प्रोग्रामिंग. जस्ट रिमेंबर दैट नॉट एवरी पर्सन इज कट आउट फॉर कॉम्पिटिटिव प्रोग्रामिंग. अगर आपको नहीं मजा आ रहा है तो ड्रॉप इट, सिंपल एज दैट.
Okay, okay, this is one. Okay, yeah, this is one question again. Is data structures more important than general development, web development, and knowledge like that?
ये क्वेश्चन ऐसा ही है कि मतलब पाँव इम्पोर्टेंट है या हाथ इम्पोर्टेंट है, दोनों ही चीजें इम्पोर्टेंट है. विदाउट डेटा स्ट्रक्चर्स यू कैन नॉट, मतलब ठीक है, डेटा स्ट्रक्चर्स डोंट जस्ट विजुअलाइज इट लाइक वेक्टर्स है, लिस्ट है, मतलब ट्रीज है, डोंट विजुअलाइज इट लाइक दैट. डेटा स्ट्रक्चर्स इज एनीथिंग दैट कैरीज इंफॉर्मेशन. ओके, मतलब वही तो मतलब होता है डेटा स्ट्रक्चर. एंड व्हेन यू आर
Right,
डूइंग डेवलपमेंट यू आर गोइंग टू कैरी इंफॉर्मेशन इन सम वे और द अदर. सो डेटा स्ट्रक्चर्स इज क्रूशियल इन डेवलपमेंट. ठीक है, दोनों ही चीज आ जाती है इसमें.
right, right, right. This is an
The
interesting
next
one.
question is how can we validate a low level design for project that we make in college? I think this is so common and this question is so useful to ask.
I mean, low level design, validate karna is a difficult thing because I don't know how dedicated your professors or how dedicated your teaching assistant will be to help you out in that. But low level design, visualize it in this way. ठीक है. आई एम नॉट श्योर लो लेवल डिजाइन कहाँ पे प्रोजेक्ट्स में आती भी है. टू बी ऑनेस्ट, ट्रिपल आईटी हैदराबाद में तो मतलब लो लेवल डिजाइन को इतना कुछ करना पड़ा नहीं था. देयर वर नो सच प्रोजेक्ट्स व्हिच इन्वॉल्वड लॉट ऑफ लो लेवल डिजाइनिंग. सो लो लेवल डिजाइन क्या होता है, मतलब यू डिजाइन सम फंक्शंस. ठीक है, यू नो व्हाट द प्रॉब्लम इज, यू क्रिएटेड सम फंक्शंस की मतलब गेट समथिंग या सेट समथिंग और क्रिएट समथिंग और समथिंग लाइक दैट. तो how are all those small pieces of code, small functions compiled with each other? How is the information wired through them? So just visualize it. मतलब वो पेन एंड पेपर पे कर सकते हो, ड्रॉ डायग्राम, इंटरेक्ट विद फ्रेंड्स अबाउट इट, यू विल गेट टू नो सम डिफरेंट इनसाइट्स. सो वो जो टू एंड फ्रो वाली चीज है ना, जो दोस्तों के साथ बात कर सकते हो, प्रोफेसर अगर फ्रेंडली है तो प्रोफेसर्स के साथ बात कर सकते हो. सो इन दैट वे यू विल गेट टू नो अबाउट द वैलिडेशन पार्ट कि क्या मैं इसको कुछ अलग तरीके से करूँ जिससे शायद स्पेस एफिशिएंट हो सके, जिससे शायद टाइम एफिशिएंट हो सके. सो वो चीजें वैसे ही हो पाएगी. देयर इज नो सच ऑटोमेटेड टूल के वेबसाइट में डाल दिया ये लो लेवल डिजाइन है और बताओ क्या है मतलब इसका स्कोर, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है.
Right. So the best language for oops, I mean, which one do you think? There are several of them out there. What do you think is the
आधे लोग
one which?
आधे लोग मेरी वाह वाह करने वाले हैं और आधे लोग मेरे को मारने वाले हैं. सो देयर इज नो सच थिंग एज बेस्ट लैंग्वेज. एनी लैंग्वेज दैट सपोर्ट्स oops, फॉर एग्जांपल मतलब पाइथन में भी सपोर्ट करता है बट पाइथन इज नॉट मेंट फॉर oops एट द कोर. ठीक है, सी प्लस प्लस एंड जावा, दोज आर द लैंग्वेज विच सपोर्ट्स ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग प्राइमरीली. सो दोनों में से कोई भी लैंग्वेज चूज करो जो पसंद आती है. बोथ ऑफ देम आर गुड.
Right, right,
आई
right.
प्रेफर सी प्लस प्लस.
So do I. So do I. But yeah, we have, I think, a few more questions. What is the best coding platform?
There are, first of all, I'll tell you what all coding platforms you can use. अगर कोई नाम सुना हो तो ठीक है. I started with Code Forces because that's what my teaching assistant told me. ठीक है, वहीं से मैंने शुरू किया था. फिर पता चला एक कोड शेफ करके होता है जो इट्स लाइक इंडियन डोमिनेटेड प्लेटफॉर्म, इंडिया की कंपनी है करके, सो वो भी ट्राई किया. फिर जो कोडिंग राउंड्स होते हैं, ठीक है, दोज आर प्राइमरीली ऑन हैकर रैंक और हैकर अर्थ. मेरे टाइम तो वैसा था, 2 साल में पता नहीं कितना चेंज हुआ है, बट वो भी ट्राई किया. फिर लीड कोड भी ट्राई किया, फिर इंटरव्यू बिट भी ट्राई किया. आई ट्राइड अ लॉट ऑफ प्लेटफॉर्म्स बट जिसमें मैं सबसे ज्यादा कॉन्सिस्टेंट रहा हूँ दैट हैज बीन कोड फोर्सेस. प्राइमरीली बिकॉज यू कॉम्पीट विथ दी बेस्ट इन द वर्ल्ड. ठीक है, मतलब रशिया के है लोग, बांग्लादेश से है, यूएस से है, देयर आर द बेस्ट कोडर्स इन द वर्ल्ड ऑन दैट प्लेटफॉर्म. एंड बिकॉज द डाइवर्सिटी ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम्स. ओके, अब माइक खुद प्रॉब्लम बनाता है तो सॉल्व करनी तो बनती है, राइट. इफ योर प्रॉब्लम इज अटेंडेड बाय टूरिस्ट तो कॉन्टेस्ट अटेंड करना तो बनता है, राइट. एंड दैट इज द
Right,
रीजन आई प्रेफर कोड फोर्सेस प्राइमरी.
right, right, right. I mean, Anshul, I guess. Okay, there's another question. I mean, I think it's the same question. Any specific platform
I
for
have a
DSL?
question. What is the best way to start coding as a beginner?
I mean, best way to start coding is just the Hello World program, which all of us have done. But jokes apart, okay. So the best platform which I found out was Geeks for Geeks. To be honest, just try to play around with for loops. मतलब स्टार्टिंग में ऐसा बहुत इंक्विजिटिव होता है. वो जो पैटर्न वाली असाइनमेंट्स होती है ना, डायमंड बनाओ, ये बनाओ, वो बनाओ.
हाँ
So
हाँ हाँ.
those are all crazy stuff. मतलब how do for loop actually works? How does if and else condition actually works? So me who had zero knowledge about C++ and Java, that was very interesting for me. अरे मैंने ये किया तो स्टार वाली डिजाइन बन गई करके. And at first I thought कि ऐसे ही for loop से सारा graphics बनता होगा. So that's crazy shit. But yeah, geeks for geeks से शुरू कर सकते हैं.
Right, right, right,
Thank you. That was very useful for me.
right. Okay, we have one really nice question here in the comments by Mayank. So he asks, what are some good sources to learn best practices in code design?
I honestly don't have an answer to that. But uh, I think good practices Stack Overflow, to be honest, based on my experience, because whenever I had some doubt, Stack Overflow has been there for my rescue. And the best part about Stack Overflow is that it supports people from different culture and backgrounds. तो वो खुद के तरीके बताते हैं कि मतलब अगर वेक्टर कॉपी करना है, what is the best way to do it, right? अगर pairs यूज करनी है या टपल्स यूज करना है, so what's the best way to use it? There are different solutions. Obviously मतलब जो सबसे ज्यादा वोट वाला होता है, that's usually the best one. बट यू नो व्हाट द ऑप्शंस आर. कभी कभी वही नहीं पता होता है कि यार इस तरीके से मैं यूज भी कर सकता हूँ या कर सकती हूँ. ठीक है. सो इफ यू हैव अ डाउट रिगार्डिंग एनीथिंग रिलेटेड टू कोड डिजाइन, पुट इट ऑन गूगल. स्टैक ओवरफ्लो की कोई ना कोई लिंक तो आनी ही चाहिए, मोस्ट ऑफन देन नॉट. तो वहां पे काफी बढ़िया आइडिया मिल जाता है. व्हाट इज द बेटर कोडिंग डिजाइन.
Right, right. That is very helpful. I think we have reached the end of questions. It was
Yes.
great having you, Anshul. I mean, I learned a lot. I learned the new Tinder perspective was really big and amazing. So
Thank you so much.
thank you so much, Anshul.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Hisham. Thanks a lot, Anushka.
Thank you.
So that was a wonderful session. Our audience has been very enthusiastic and engaging throughout the session.
Yeah. One of the questions that I think we were getting in the comments was how to join Developer Students Club, right? And I think I can take that up now. So essentially, for GDSC VIT, we have a recruitment process that happens somewhere around December to January. So that was the thing. I mean, you have to participate in the recruitment process. You can follow us on our social media, and whenever the recruitment process comes up, we will be sort of, you know, it'll be out on our social media platforms. We have a portal and everything. So yeah, you have a Discord server and everything. You should definitely join those. And yeah, that is to answer that question. So anyway, Anushka, do you remember that last year when you had your DSA exam and I gave you that one course? Do you remember that part?
Don't remind me that bit. I started studying at the end minute and I was so stressed about the exam because I had no idea how I'm going to cover up so many topics in so little time and still manage to pass the exam and get good marks. I think Coding Minutes was the name, right?
Exactly. And do you remember the name of the person who was the instructor in Coding Minutes?
Prateek Narang, right?
Yeah, and can you imagine Prateek Narang is our next speaker? And I can go on and on about everything that Prateek Narang has done. So he has a demonstrated history of working in the Indian edtech sector. He has created his own edtech startups. One of them is Coding Minutes, and he has over 75,000 students. Not just that, he has a master's degree in machine learning, and he has worked at Google for over 1 year. And right now, he is the engineering lead at Scalar Academy, which is again one of the biggest edtech startups there is in the country. So, with that, I'd like to invite Prateek Narang onto the stage. Hello,
Hi
Prateek.
everyone. Hi, how
Hi,
are you?
Prateek. We are fine.
Thanks
How are
for
Great.
you?
yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on this weekend special Dev Talks. Yeah. Um,
I can't
good.
express in words, Prateek, how happy I am to finally meet you. I've been
Prateek
Yeah,
seeing
and
you
it's
a lot in the courses and everything, and I think
he's been
you've helped us a
fangirling
lot.
ever since.
so if the pandemic was not been there, I've been to I was a regular visitor to VIT. I've came 3 times just before
Oh,
COVID
that
in
is
1 year. So maybe this year, if we get a chance, we'll surely come and meet you guys over there in the campus.
Definitely, definitely, Pratik.
Yeah, yeah.
I think so. The way I think we are going to do this session is me and Anushka will go backstage, and you'll have everything to you. You can share your screen,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, you'll take the session, and then we'll come back for some Q&A, right, from our YouTube live audience. So
Okay, fine, fine.
okay.
Um, yeah, if people want to post some comments, will I be able to see those questions in the chat?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
you'll be able to
yeah,
see
in the
those.
in the in the live chat on YouTube, yes,
YouTube
and
live chat.
yes, I think
Okay,
I've shared the YouTube link with you as well. So
okay. Let me just check so that I don't miss out on the questions thing. All right, so I will maybe start by sharing with my screen, and
Okay.
it's very rare that I do give these type of talks. So most of the you who have attended my sessions, they are mostly around coding and building things. But it's like one of my few sessions that I do on career guidance. So today we are going to talk a little bit about how to keep yourself motivated and how do you optimize your learning process. Uh, yeah. So all right. Great. Just a minute. Just a minute. Yeah. So I think you already have my introduction. I'm currently working as engineering lead at Scalar. Before joining Scalar, I was working with Google for 1 year, and during my journey at Google, we created Coding Minutes along with some of my friends, Mohit, Jatin. Before joining Google, I was co-founder at Coding Blocks for almost four years, and where we built a lot of online courses. In pandemic, I realized that there are a lot of students who for a lot of people who can't afford expensive courses, so we came up with this idea. Okay, we'll make the courses very affordable and we'll offer doubt support and programming exercises. So that led to creation of Coding Minutes, and some of you might know this recently got acquired by Scalar as well. So now we are functioning under the parent organization Scalar, but we are keeping our mission of bringing these affordable courses which have a lot of interactive videos on DSA, competitive machine learning, system design, web dev. These are the things that we might be coming up. We would be coming up in coming months as well. Okay, so it's almost my sixth year or the fifth. Yeah, it's all been almost 6 years teaching people data structures and algorithms. So I started teaching in my fourth year, but when I joined college in my first year, I had no idea of computer science. Okay, because in my class 12th, I had no experience of programming, and I had only physical education as a subject in the college. So first year was very tricky for me. Even we got only 10 programs, I could not understand those, and I had to take help from friends. Or in the exams, what I did, I just somehow mucked up those programs, and but from the second year, things started getting bit more tricky when data structures got introduced. You have to code a linked list and all. So at that point, I realized no, I should learn this subject really well and master it. So that was the time I started reading books, started sitting with my friends, l- seeing how they code. Okay, some of the good competitive coders, I asked them for their help in some of the questions and all. So I made a good peer group with which I started learning coding. And at the end of second year, there were few companies coming to our campus. So I did sit for a couple of interviews, like Amazon I failed, then Samsung I failed. Like some of the interviews I failed, but I luckily I got one internship at SanDisk. So that was after the second year. So in third year, I worked more harder. I learned web development, solved more problems on competitive programming. And in the fourth year, I had a PPO from Sandus, and I got shortlisted for Amazon as well from on campus. So at that point, I thought, yeah, at my time there were not a lot of online courses. So there was opportunity to join coding blocks, which was already there, and there was no one at my time to lead the startup. So Munna bhi asked me to join, and we started building out things, and we made a lot of we made the online platform. We ran classroom bootcamps and all. From that, my journey in edtech started, and it's been almost 6 years. We have been teaching people to code, and yeah, and that is something I really enjoyed, and that was my dream also, that I want to do something in this teaching domain. So this is little bit about the background. And during pandemic, I did join Google to get some corporate exposure and try out how things work at FAANG scale. So that was also a pretty nice experience to understand how Google manages such large scale applications and all. So, and recently I joined Scalar as engineering lead, and apart along with it, we are working at Coding Minutes to bring a lot of interactive courses for you all. Okay. So today we'll talk about a little bit about learning the art of becoming better. Okay. How many of you want to become better in life? How many of you want to excel in life? Tell me in the chat. Okay. How many of you want to be a successful person? All right. So I guess everyone. Okay. Everyone wants to become successful. Everyone wants. So what is the definition of success for you? Okay. What do you think? What does success mean for you? Let me know in the chats. Okay. Okay. So today we will having a good house and living with my wife. Okay. Okay. People are raising hands. Great. So there is a bit of lag, so I get your responses little late. So there might be little delay. Okay. So today we will learn about a framework that companies use. It is known as OKR framework. Okay. So where O stands for objectives. Okay. So we are going to look at some of the most successful companies. Okay. Like you can see companies like Google, Spotify, Twitter, LinkedIn. They scaled from very few employees in 1990s to thousands of employees. Okay, for example, in Google, we have more than 1 lakh uh, people who are in this organization, and managing so many people itself would be very difficult if they are not aligned in the common direction. Okay, so what these companies do to achieve success. Okay, so basically this was a framework that came up in 90s. So where O stands for objectives and KR stands for key results. Okay, so that basically says that everything that you do in your life, okay, should be linked with a particular objective. ऐसा नहीं है कि आपने कॉलेज ज्वाइन कर लिया एंड जैसे कॉलेज चल रहा है हम वैसे 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 चलते रहेंगे. ओके, यू मस्ट हैव अ ऑब्जेक्टिव, and every 3 months you need to iterate ki am what I'm doing is it taking me closer to the objective or not. Okay, so that's the OKR framework. I will just tell you. So I had a power cut. Just give me a minute.
I think we have some sort of a technical issue. So we'll just wait for Pratik while he comes back. Right. So, I mean, Pratik was talking about OKR and optimizing our learning, and I think I think that as a college student, I have been a part of DSC VIT for about two to 2.5 years, and one of the things that I have personally realized in my own college life is that whenever I am doing something right, so in my first year I didn't really do much. In my second year I was doing maybe I was doing some coding with DSC, but it was really in the end of my second year that I started thinking about what I really want to do, that objective part, right? So that I think that was very, I mean Pratik said that objective is what we really should focus on. Don't you think, Anushka?
I think it's very essential for all of us to do that. It's so helpful. It's not only useful right now, but it will help us anytime in future.
Exactly, exactly. So so I think Pratik has had a technical issue. So while he comes back from that, we'll have a small question for everyone in our YouTube audience. I think it's related to computer science, and since you're freshers, I'm pretty sure you would be able to answer this question. So the question is, what is the time complexity of merge sort? Right. Type your answers in the comments. I want to see some proper answers, guys. You can use the big O notation or the omega notation or whatever you guys feel like doing. But I want you guys to give me some answers in the comment section here. Uh, so the answer is actually O of n log n, right? So anyway, I think Pratik is back now, so we can put Pratik back on stage. Right, right, right. Hi, Pratik.
Hi, sorry for the
Hello,
interrupt.
Pratik.
There was a so power fluctuation does happen sometimes here in Punjab. So yeah,
Yeah, that's okay.
Right,
Don't
right.
worry about it.
yeah, I'll add my
Okay.
screen. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just stop my video and let's focus on what I'm teaching. Okay, so I was talking about this OKR framework where O stands for objectives and KR stands for key results. So many companies like Google, Spotify, Twitter, LinkedIn, they use this framework to become better. Okay, to be a successful company. So what this framework says is basically I will define an objective and I will have a set of key results that will measure that objective. Okay, am I moving towards the goal or not? Okay, so a proper goal will has to describe what you want to achieve and how you are going to measure its achievement. Okay, so let's talk about people who regularly go to gym. Okay, so they might be tracking how many calories they are consuming or how many calories they are burning. Okay, so whatever you want to achieve, that should be measured. Okay, if you want to become a good coder, you should be measuring maybe how much time you're spending on weekly basis, how many problems you're solving, what what content you have covered in 3 months. Okay, so all those things should be measurable. Okay, so your objective should be linked with key results that you can measure. Okay, and let's also talk about what is the one most common reason that people, okay, so we will relate people with companies. Okay, people are like companies. So one of the most common reason why companies fail. Okay, so what do you think, why a company or why a person can fail in life? What are the common reasons for setting up for a failure? Okay, anything, any reasons you want to, you might have in mind? Come on. Okay, so there can be a lot of reasons, but one major reason that has come up in a lot of study is lack of focus. Okay, we'll talk about two reasons. So one is lack of focus. Okay, that means doing so many things at the same time. That, so if you are like entering first year, so in first year it is mostly your exploration phase. Okay, you want to try out couple of things and you want to see, okay, what I want to do. But that, if you continue for all your 4 years, you would end up getting a lack of focus. Okay, you're not focusing on one thing. Basically, you are doing too many things. You're doing too many things, and this would result in lack of focus on one thing. Okay, so you should know that what you want to do, know what you want to achieve. So having this clarity in mind is very important. Okay, and second reason why people may fail is not doing the thing for long enough. That means गिविंग अप अर्ली. ओके, आपने कुछ ट्राई किया 2-3 महीने, आपने बोला यार मेरे से नहीं हो रहा, ठीक है, आपने लेट्स से जिम जाना स्टार्ट किया, आपने एक हफ्ता किया, फिर आपने छोड़ दिया. ओके, सो गिविंग अप अर्ली will also lead to failure. Okay, so whatever you want to do, once you have figured it out, keep doing it for long enough time. Okay, keep doing it for long enough time. So now I will give you my example. Okay, so when I started teaching, आई न्यू कि मेरे को इसी में ही जाना है. ओके, तो आप अगर आप मेरी जर्नी देखोगे, सो आई एम मूविंग, कोडिंग ब्लॉग्स किया, कोडिंग मिनट्स किया, स्केलर किया, यूडेमी पे पढ़ा रहा हूँ. ठीक है, सो आई नो आई वांट टू डू टीचिंग. ओके, and I'm doing it for long enough time, and some look, like now a lot of students know me. Okay, so you can say, I won't say I'm very successful, but still a lot of students know me. I feel happy. Okay, I feel uh, कि मैंने कुछ इम्पैक्ट किया. ओके, इन इन इतने सारे 75,000 स्टूडेंट्स हु हैव जॉइंड माय कोर्सेज. ठीक है, नॉट इंक्लूडिंग दोज जिन्होंने पायरेटेड वीडियोस करी हैं. ठीक है, तो बट आई हैव बीन डूइंग इट फॉर लॉन्ग एनफ, एंड दैट इज व्हाट you need to do. Okay, so if you're learning programming as a beginner, you will face a lot of challenges, but keep doing it for long enough. Okay, do not give up very early. So we are talking about this OKR framework. Okay, so first thing that you need to define is what you want to do. Okay, figuring out the objective is very important. So I knew few friends from my college. So one of the friend, she got a very good rank in GA. She could easily get a computer science branch. Okay, but he chose to get an environment branch. Okay, why? Because she was very clear that she want to do something for the climate change and all. Now, so what she did, instead of doing computer engineering, she went for the environment engineering in our college, and then she went to Denmark to study glaciers and all. Now she is working with Ministry of Environment and Government of India. So she is very happy. What she wanted to do is now she able to pursue. Okay, so ऐसा नहीं है, everyone should have this objective, I want to be a great coder. Okay, so you can have a different objective as well. You may want to become a travel vlogger. Okay, so even if you want to do travel vlogging, you have to keep a lot of focus. Okay, you can't say okay बस मैं हफ्ते में 2 घंटे vlogging कर लूंगा and you will become a successful vlogger. It's not like that. Again, it will take you a lot of focus. So one of my friends who was in software engineering in DTU, now she is a very popular travel vlogger on Instagram. So her name is Tanya Khanechuk. So maybe some of you might be following it. Now she has lakhs of followers. So she kept doing it for almost 5 years, and now she has 3 lakh followers on Instagram, promotions from like Xiaomi and all. Okay, so all big brands are sponsoring her videos. So whatever is the objective, you need to figure it out in the first year itself. कि यार explore कर लिया, now this is the thing that I want to achieve. Okay, so so everything that you to do has to be driven by objective. Okay, and in this objective you need to figure out what is the right problem I want to solve. Okay, what is the problem that I want to solve. Okay, what I want to achieve, and this you will come to know what I want to achieve through exploration only. Okay, so spend some time, if you're a first year student, exploring what you want to achieve. Okay, and it could be maybe I want to like the Hisham said, I want to get a good house. Okay. That could be your objective in, let's say, in 5 years. I want to get a good house. Maybe I want to get a financial independence. Okay. Or maybe I want to get a good health. Okay. Or maybe I want to create my own startup. Okay. Or maybe I want to work in a product company. Okay. I want to get a job. So all these could be your objectives. All of them could be your objectives. Okay. All of these could be the objectives. Okay. So Chris says gym analogy hits in the fields. Yes. Okay. All right. So I'm looking at the chat as well. So if you have any questions, you can just post in the chat as well. Okay. So think of what you want to achieve in next 1 year from now, 2 years from now. Okay. And when you're defining objectives, do it for 3 months. Okay. The next quarter, I'm going to complete these milestones. Break your objectives into small milestones and track it on quarterly basis. Okay. So anything that you do should be able to make you closer towards that objective. Okay. How do you get closer to that objective? So everyone wants to become successful. Now you may want good health, or it could be earning more money as well. Okay. But you need to quantify how much money. Okay. If you want to say, I want to earn 10 lakhs. Okay. You need to quantify. I want to earn 50 lakhs. Okay. How much money? So, okay. So one thing that I have observed, or that is a fact, like human mind has a swinging nature. Okay. So human mind has a swinging nature. Okay. So sometimes you feel that, okay, I want to learn guitar, maybe I want to do painting, I want to do coding, I want to do marketing. Okay. But the thing is, let's say there is a person A, there is a person B. So let's say this person B is doing coding, this is doing blogging, he's making YouTube videos. Okay. And he's making, let's say, he's traveling also. So let's, in each of these activities, this person is spending 25% of the time. Okay. And there is person A who is only focusing on software development for maybe 90% of the time, and maybe focusing on his health for maybe 10% of the time. Okay. So now what do you think, when it comes to a, let's say, SD job, who has higher chances of getting success? Okay. Obviously person A, because he has done one thing in a more focused way. Okay. But if your objective is, I want to become a YouTuber. Okay. I don't want to learn a lot of coding, so maybe you should be spending 75% of the time on YouTube and maybe 25% of the time. Okay. So this is fine if your goal is to build a huge audience on YouTube. Okay. But if your goal is to get a job in a top company, then you should be more focused on coding. Okay. So you need to be very clear that what I want to achieve. Okay. So do the things that are going to align with your objective. Okay. So like now, what is the most common goal lot of you have? Okay. A lot of you have joined a engineering college. Okay. And after this college, you want a certain outcome. And outcome for many of us is what? Job security. Okay. We want a job, secure job that pays us well, and we can live a decent lifestyle as well. Okay. So now, how does this job security come? Kahan se job security aayegi? Does it come from working with a great company? Does it come from having a great package, or what? So let me know in the chat. What do you think? How do you get a secure job? Okay. Uh, Waiting for the answers. Okay, Mayank says getting better skills. Yes, yes. Okay. So in India, like job security matters a lot. Okay, so once you graduate, then if you go to some marriage, तो पापा के फ्रेंड्स होंगे, पूछेंगे बेटा आजकल क्या कर रहे हो, आप बोलोगे मैं यहाँ जॉब कर रहा हूँ, वहाँ जॉब कर रहा हूँ, या मेरा स्टार्टअप है, ठीक है. So it's also matter of social prestige, and also you need job security to earn. Okay, so job security comes from what you do, okay, what you can do. Okay, it does not come from working with a company. So you might be working with a good company, and suddenly maybe things like COVID come and the company loses revenue and you may get laid off. Okay, so job security does not come by working with a good company. Okay, so it comes from what you can do, basically your skills. Okay, so companies can lay you off anytime, but if you know you have the skills, you should be able to get a good job. There must be 10 other companies who are willing to hire you because you know you have the skills, you can solve problems. Okay, it is okay if company lays me off, but so job security is a function of what you know, and it is a function of skills, you can say. Okay, so becoming a great engineer is your objective. So objective for most of us is to become a great engineer who can solve problems. Okay, so we have figured out that our objective is to become a great engineer once we graduate. And what are the things that will make you a great engineer? Okay, and you also need to see what are the key results that we would be tracking so that we get closer to this objective. Okay, all right, so let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Yes, so good. Let me ask you a question. Think of your favorite subject. Okay, think of your favorite subject and you rate yourself on that subject on a scale of 1 to 10. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 on your favorite subject. So it can be any subject in school, college, programming, anything. Okay, let me know. Okay, Anish says 8. 6 or 7. Okay, 7.5. Great. Okay, 7. All right, 9. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of answers. So people rating 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, maybe someone has not said 10 yet, but let's assume that. Okay, so now Facebook did one research. So Facebook did one study. So they find out, okay, people who rate themselves as 9 or 10 in interview, people who said 9 or 10 in an interview, they had an interesting correlation. They had the least growth in the company. Okay, so Facebook did this study. So people who rated themselves as 9 or 10, they had least growth in the company. And can you guess the reason why? Can you guess the reason why? So these people were thinking that they know a lot of things and they stopped learning. Okay, so they were less curious to learn more stuff. So if you think I know everything, in that case your curiosity will come down, and no one can say I'm perfect. I know each and everything about this particular subject, because there is too much to learn. Okay, so one of the uh, team members who created C++, okay, one of their members was interviewed and he was asked to rate himself in C++. So that person rated himself as 6. Okay, because he said there is so much to learn in C++ that he can't say he knows everything. Okay, so you need to have this kind of a mindset, is known as growth mindset. Okay, so first you need to have a growth mindset. You should be open for learning new things. So this is your care one. Okay, so you should be learning, you should be open for learning new stuff. You can't say that I am best in this subject, no one can come and beat me. Someone will come and prove you wrong. Okay, so try to learn and grasp more. Try to learn and grasp more. Okay, so जहाँ से भी सीखने को मिले, you should uh, gain that knowledge. Okay, so I also teach a lot of classes. Every time I teach a class, I also gain something new every time. Okay, so so that's called as growth mindset. Okay, so the moment you think you have learned everything, someone will come and beat you, and that's why you should never stop learning. Okay, so even if you are very much expert in a particular area, the things are rapidly changing, and you should not yeah, let's talk about the next point. Okay, so let me ask you about something. Let's say you want to get your car repaired and you go to a mechanic. Okay, let's say there is a mechanic A, there is a mechanic B. The mechanic A is someone who can just find out the issue. Okay, who can find out the issue and fix it. But the mechanic B is someone who is very knowledgeable. He has a lot of degrees in that particular domain, and he knows, okay, what are the components of a screwdriver, how an engine works. Okay, he knows a lot of, no, he has a lot of knowledge basically. Okay, so which mechanic you will prefer, a mechanic A or mechanic B? Which mechanic you will go to, a mechanic A or a mechanic B? Okay, mechanic A, Akhtar says mechanic A, obviously. So now why this is important is because knowledge is free. Okay, knowledge is there on the internet. So in knowledge is there in your pocket. Basically what you want to do is you need to solve that problem with the knowledge. So basically skills. Okay, so skills is not equal to knowledge. Okay, skills is learning how to fix a problem. Okay, so when you're going to work in any company, you're going to get a new problem every time. Okay, but and for that problem you might require some knowledge. Okay, how a particular function works in Java, you can look at the documentation. Okay, how this JavaScript library works, you can obviously look at the MDN docs. Okay, so knowledge is there on the internet. So when you're learning programming, you don't need to memorize uh, what is there in the documentation. Okay, what you should be learning is, okay, given this piece of code which takes 100 milliseconds to run, can I bring down this time to 50 milliseconds? So this is something that you will not get on Google. But how this parse integer function works, or how this API call works, this you will definitely get on the internet. Okay, so when you're focusing on learning, your focus should not be on rote learning. Okay, so in schools we have been taught, okay, history ke ye chapters yaad kar lo, you will get 90 marks. Okay, so schools may we have done rote learning, but that is not going to help us in the industry. So industry, what is going to help? The problem solving skills. Okay, so a great engineer should have problem solving skills. So your care to is that get you should focus on problem solving skills rather than learning what is already there on the internet. Okay, even the standard algorithms like Bellman Ford, Floyd Warshall, there is no point of learning those algorithms, because if you need to apply those algorithms, you can anyways get them on internet. Okay, so the thing is how you come up with something uh, that is not there on the internet. Okay, So even in when I appeared for a Google interview, there were certain instructions, like do not expect anything, like not try not to memorize anything. Okay, you don't need to memorize anything for the interview. कुछ भी आपको याद करके नहीं आना. It's going to be everything based upon logic. Okay, so problem solving skills is much more important than knowledge. Okay, so especially for product companies. Okay, but if you're preparing for service companies, so in India, unfortunately, service companies may test you on knowledge as well. What is a virtual function? Okay, what is polymorphism? So having certain knowledge is good, but you should not be memorizing each and everything. Okay, you should be comfortable with programming tools, and anytime you need help, you can always look up at the internet. Okay, so that's what your goal is. You should be focusing on problem solving. Okay, so dsa is like nuts and bolts of problem solving. Okay, you should know how to combine different nuts and bolts so that you can build something out of that. Okay, and programming language is your tool. Programming language are like tools. So let us talk about a next story. Okay, so i will i will I will share a cruel story, and it's a real story. There was a study that was uh, done in done by a professor from John Hopkins University. Okay, so there was a professor in John Hopkins University. Okay, and so he did a study with the rats. Okay, so he conducted some experiment in with the rats, and it dates to 1950s. Okay, so this was called as the hope experiment. So what they did is they took they took a rat. Okay, and they threw that rat in water. So I have this image here. So they took a rat, and took the rat they put the rat in water and allowed the rat to struggle, and the rat died in 15 minutes. Okay, so after 15 minutes of struggling, the rat died. All right, and they conducted this with multiple rats. Okay, so all the rats died in about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, but uh, again they repeated a experiment with the same breed of rats. Okay, but this time what they did, they again put the rat inside water. They took a second rat, they put the rat inside water. Okay, it again struggled for 10-15 minutes. On the 14th minute, as it was about to give up, as it was getting drowned, so what they did, they took that rat out of water, dried it with the cloth, gave him proper food, gave him rest, and again put him inside water. Okay, in a water beaker. So now, can you guess how much time the rat would have stayed struggling, trying to swim inside that beaker? Can you guess how much time, next time you put that rat inside water, how much time it would have been there? Definitely more than 15 minutes. But how much? Okay, how much? 2 hours? Okay. Uh, Krishav says 60 hours. Okay. So Krishav says 60 hours. Okay, 45 minutes, 30 minutes. Okay, I think uh, someone might, Krishav, you might have Googled it, or you might have heard this story before. It's a real story. So that rat struggled for 60 hours without food, trying to swim inside that beaker before giving up. Okay, so that demonstrates the power of hope. Okay, being hopeful in tough situations is what will take you through. Okay, so that is another thing that we should be having, that we should not give up. Okay, so having a strong mind, keeping a belief in yourself, that is what is going to take you through. So that was the story of rats, and human philosophy is kind of similar. Okay, so yeah, yeah. So hope and faith are the emotions that can do wonders. Okay, so if you have hopes, you will keep fighting till you don't get a success. Okay, and so you must believe in yourself. So care 3 is believe in yourself. Okay, believe in yourself. Okay, put your 100% of efforts. Okay, and have a hope and faith in yourself. Okay, and whatever you're doing, okay, whatever you are doing, do it very devotedly. Okay, do it very devotedly. Or that again comes to what? Focus. Okay, we will also discuss how to keep yourself focused. Okay, how to keep yourself focused and consistent. Okay, care for that a lot of people struggle. Okay, in college especially, it's about time management. It's about time management. How do you uh, how do you stay consistent in the efforts? How do you stay consistent in the efforts? So has anyone seen a hand pump that's there in the village? Village में hand pump होता है, ठीक है? So what you have to do is you have to pump it for many times. There is no water, but after few minutes of pumping, the water continues starts flowing. Okay, you have seen a hand pump. So our life is like a hand pump. Okay, learning is like a hand pump. So when you start learning and if you give up in between, so what happens? Your knowledge level or your skills start rising, but if you give up in between, they will drop down. Okay, so when you're pumping, the water level is rising, but if you if you don't cross a certain threshold, you will start uh, uh, this water level will stop dropping. Okay, so in the hand pump also, once the water has crossed this particular threshold, then it will start continue, it will start giving you fruit. Similarly, when you have consistent efforts, okay, when you have consistent efforts and once you have made enough efforts that are that have crossed your threshold, maybe you have got a good job, or maybe you have got a stable income, or maybe you got a good health. Okay, then you will start getting the results. Okay, so it's a lot of people take a न्यू ईयर रेजोल्यूशंस कि यार इस साल तो मैं फोड़ दूंगा, एक महीने में तो मैं 40 घंटे कोड करूंगा, या मैं 200 प्रॉब्लम करूंगा लीड कोड पे. बट like as the first, second, third weeks goes go as the time passes by, your efforts start dropping. Okay, so that is equivalent to this water level in this hand pump getting dropped. So your efforts should be consistent enough throughout the year. Whatever you have started, bring it to completion. So a lot of students start my online course, but if I tell you about the completion rate, it's only 15 to 20% or even lesser. Okay, this is the completion rate. So if 10,000 students are doing my course, less than 1,500 students are going to complete it in, let's say, 6 months or 1 year. Okay, because they're lacking consistency. They're lacking consistency. Okay, so how do I keep myself motivated to keep doing DSA? Okay, so DSA is just one thing. Okay, so if you have a 4 year journey, if you have 4 year of college, 1 year is enough to learn and master DSA and do some competitive coding as well. You should be doing web development as well. You should be learning maybe machine learning if you get time. Okay, so DSA, you can do it in 1 year, but the question is, how do we stay consistent? Okay, so there are few productivity hacks that I can share you. Okay, I can share you with uh, few hacks. So one thing is, you when like you make dedicated slots on your calendar. Okay, make dedicated slots on your calendar, on your Google calendar, that okay, from 2 to 4 I'm going to watch lectures. Okay, and maybe from 4:30 to 7 I'm going to do coding. Okay. And during this dedicated slots, there should be no distraction. Okay. You will not open WhatsApp, you will not open Netflix, you will not open Instagram, you will not scroll LinkedIn. So these, having these dedicated slots is very important. Why? Because even if you're using a computer and if you have lot of apps open, and if you try to shift between one app to another, okay, so the performance of your computer slows down. Okay, so that is known as context switching. Your CPU was doing some work, you stopped that work, and you changed the app. That means you shifted to some other context. Similarly, when you're doing one thing, your brain is focused on one thing, but suddenly you start looking at Instagram or YouTube, your brain switched the context, and it lost the focus. Okay, and it is a very expensive thing. Okay, and if, like social media, once you open, you will lose a track of time. How much time you have wasted, you don't know. Okay, so avoid all distractions during these dedicated slots. Okay, you should be doing deep work. Okay, focused only on one thing. So I'm not saying do not keep any slot for relaxation, so do it. Take a slot for your health or entertainment, but it should be a dedicated slot, maybe 9 to 10. I'm going to keep it for my entertainment or body, okay, or mental relaxation. Okay, second hack you can use is find a peer group of 2 3 person who are close to you. Okay, so find 2 3 friends of yours who will help you to keep motivated. Okay, they will ask you, okay, what all you did today. You will report each other. Okay, so we call them as accountability partners. Okay, so in college you have exams to make you accountable that you are at least studying. So if you have accountability partner who is going to ask you every day, okay, what you learned today, and you are going to ask him or her, what you have learned today, let me know. Okay, so you have to find 2 3 partners, make a WhatsApp group with them, and ask each other what you have done. Take their help. Okay, to keep yourself motivated and being consistent. Okay, so mostly these people would be your batchmates, close friends. Okay, so make accountability partners. Okay, so once you have these partners who themselves will report to you, and you will also ask them questions. So once you're made accountable, you would be forced to work hard. Okay, for example, uh, uh, right, so if you have 2 3 friends which are very close to you, okay, you can ask, okay, I did 5 coding questions today, how much you did. He may say, okay, I just did 2. So your friend might get motivated, okay, I should push for more. Okay, I should push for more. So this is how I studied in my college. I had partners, and I used to take inspiration from them. Okay, they are doing this much, so why I'm lagging behind? I would spend more time on that particular topic in which I'm weak. I would find out where I'm weak, and I would work more on it. Trisha says, how do you deal with burnout phase and how to avoid them realistically? It is often possible to avoid, but your own functioning is subpar. So in that case, Trisha, I would suggest take a break. Mental relaxation is very important. You can take a break of 1 week, 2 weeks, okay, and you can just focus on what is the most important stuff. For example, your college exams are coming up, so at that time you can leave everything aside and just focus on the college exams. Okay, or maybe you're having some health issue, so take a break for a few weeks and focus on your health. Okay, so that you get back on the track. Okay, all right. So the fourth thing that we just discussed is you have to be very consistent with the efforts. And we learned from the rat example also that having hope and being consistent is the key for the success. Okay, so I gave you examples of two of my friends. One became a very popular vlogger, although she did a computer engineering, but she was very consistent with the stuff that she wanted to do. Okay, another of friend, she did very well in environment engineering, and now she's working with the government of India on climate change. Okay, so a lot of friends of mine who were doing very good in coding, now they are in obviously in great jobs like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and a lot of other companies as well. Okay, so These are the few things that you should be knowing to keep yourself motivated and consistent. Having a growth mindset, having a belief in yourself, managing your time, being consistent with the efforts, and focusing on problem solving skills over knowledge. So, if you keep all of these things in mind, so you can surely excel as a engineer. You can come out with a great engineer, and whatever is the objective you want to achieve, that is having a good job or maybe starting your own startup, you can achieve that as well. Okay, so now I will be open for Q&A, and if you have some questions which maybe I have not cleared, or you want to ask anything about coding minutes or scalar, you can ask that as well. Okay.
Pratik, that was an amazing session, Pratik. And you know, as a person, just right today in the morning, I got a rejection, and I was really down. But I think what you said helped me, pumped me up, and I mean, that was amazing. That was just amazing. And I think all the questions you've already kept on answering in the YouTube. But again, I'd ask the audience, if you guys have any questions, just drop it, because this is a chance to get questions answered from the Prateek Narang. So I mean, come on, guys. Okay, we have a question. What happens when we are not interested in that objective halfway through?
Yeah, so I did discussed, like, having this clarity is very important. So you cannot say I will start working on this. Uh, Ideally, you should not have a plan B. Once you have finalized that I'm going to work on this thing, I want to become a software engineer. So ideally, you should not be giving up in the halfway. Okay, or yeah, that's I would suggest. Yeah.
Okay, all right, all right.
So in the beginning, you should be very clear of what you want to do. You can spend, like, if someone keeps 10 dishes in front of me and I'm not sure what to eat, so what I will do, I will have a sip of everything. Maybe I will sip dal or ice cream or whatever. And I will see, okay, this is the thing that I want to do. So having that clarity, and once you get the clarity, yay karna hai, so just keep doing it for long enough time, as we discussed in the beginning. So
Right, right,
yeah.
right.
Our next question is, what's one change in the online education industry that you want to see?
Yeah, so one change in education industry as a whole I can talk about is, like, a lot of people are trying to come up with a lot of content. Okay, so content is one thing. So ensuring that people actually reach outcomes from that particular education. Okay, for example, I talked in school we have a lot of rote learning, so that is not really helping students to take anywhere except from clearing the exams. So learning the real life skills, uh, learning that focuses on the outcome, that should be important.
Right, right, right. The next question: how do I keep motivated? I think you answered this question during your uh, during the speech,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
So again, I will repeat. Being consistency is a key, and we discussed some hacks for being consistent. And even if you feel you have done, you're not liking DSA a lot, there are a lot of other fields, web development, machine learning. I know people who are doing very well in Android, and they're earning more than a lot of software engineers. So yeah, DSA is not everything, I would say.
I think I know who you're referring to when you talked about Android.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Or, just an example, okay? I recently saw Pulkit's post on LinkedIn, but yeah,
right,
there's a lot of people who are done really well without DSA as well.
right, right, right. The next question, I think the banner will come up. This is an interesting one. What are the some mistakes that you regret during your startup's early days?
Uh, okay, so I have to think for that. Uh, so during your startup early days, so I will share an interesting story about coding minutes. I, like, when I asked my team members, they were working full time, so I asked them to join me with for coding minutes. So um, I asked them that I don't know how much we will earn or how much I would be able to pay to everyone. But if you're let's assume you're earning 50,000, so maybe if you're only able to get 20,000, you should be able to onboard. So I'm not sharing about mistakes, but an inspiring story about when Coding Minutes started. So Mohit Jatin, so I said, okay, at max we would be able to pay you 20,000 because the course is very cheap, and that's, but we will keep on doing this for long enough time, and if you believe in the mission, come join us. But fortunately, from the very first month, we were cash positive and we were able to pay everyone more there than their current salaries. So yeah, it is a, like I would say it was also a kind of luck, but it was also the consistent efforts that I made. Uh, we as a team made, teaching a lot of students over the years, that also helped. So right now I'm not able to think of mistakes, but definitely we might have done a lot of mistakes in the last 5 years. No one is perfect, but right now it's hard to think of that list.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions? Like,
Yeah, we do. What are some startups that you're impressed with, whether it be marketing or their management or how they've grown their product?
Right. So marketing, one name that comes into my mind is Zomato. Every time I see their ad or a promotional banner, like it is always out of the box. In management, Zerodha, I have seen they have done great work, and I also like the thinking of the founders, how they have built a $1 billion business without any external funding and focusing on organic growth and uh, yeah, providing value to the customers. Yeah.
right, right, right. Okay, the next question is, what are some of the best ways we can quantify our problem solving skills to keep track of our progress?
Right. So there are a lot of platforms like LeetCode. You can track how many problems you have solved. So, also in problem solving, more than quantity, the quality and the variation in types of questions that you have solved. Okay, it doesn't make sense for you to solve hundreds of problems on patterns or hundreds of problems on maths. You should be maybe doing 10 problems on arrays, 10 problems on graphs, 10 problems on linked list. Okay, so have enough variety, and yeah, and code forces you can do. Okay, you can see if you're improving in the rating. If you're giving contests, you should be able to improve over time, and you should be able to track your performance as well.
Right, right, right. So, Pratik, I think those were all the questions that we had. It was a pleasure having you, Pratik. I got to finally see you, and I'm pretty sure our viewers loved having you. And
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
thank you so much, Pratik.
Yeah, one small announcement I want to make for the viewers is that we are bringing a competitive programming course on codingminutes.com. It will be hosted on Udemy next week, starting next week. So if you want to join, you can definitely grab that course. And we have kept prices very low. A pizza, you will have to sacrifice a pizza to join me in the course. So if you
Right,
want, you
right.
can. Okay. So that's all. Thanks for calling, having me.
Thank you
Bye
so much,
bye.
Pratik. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
I guess that was such an amazing session, that really motivated me in general, because I had been feeling down since morning, and now I am quite hyped up now. So, anyway, that was a great session, right? So before we sort of move on to the next speaker, I have another sort of those trivia question for you guys. So the next question that you can write down your answers in the chats. So answer the question goes, how do you exit Vim? So I hope you guys have heard about Vim. So how do you guys exit Vim? There is a certain command for it. Give your answers in the comments section. Okay, by the way, when I'm looking away this time, I'm actually looking at your comment section, guys. So let's see any good answers coming in. How do you exit Vim? Nirmit says Q and A. Okay. Jasim says WQ. Amok says WQ. And then he says Q and exclamation mark. Right. So the way we quit Vim is actually just using colon and Q. They say shut down the computer. Wow, that is that. I mean, definitely that would be a
All routing solution.
There's an all-round solution to quit everything on your computer, right? Right. So, I think our next speaker is here. So, Anushka, what is that one company that you think of whenever you want to buy something?
I think it has to be Amazon.
Exactly. And I mean, Amazon is that company, where I mean, my mom, my dad, everyone, is shopping from Amazon, isn't it?
Yeah, the pandemic really helped it out.
Exactly. I mean, we've all, know the name Amazon, right? And our next speaker, his name is Riddhi Datta. He's someone whom I've been following for 1.5 years on LinkedIn, and he has an amazing YouTube channel. He's a React and Java developer, as his LinkedIn profile says. He's also a very avid traveler, and he's been a tech mentor at Scala. He's also worked at Arcasium, which is a subsidiary of D. Shaw Group. And right now, of course, he's an SD at Amazon. And yeah, so I would like to welcome Riddhi Datta to the stage.
Hey, hi. Hey, thanks for inviting. Am I audible and visible?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
audible and visible.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone, and thanks to the VIT for inviting me.
Hi, good evening. How are
Good
you?
evening.
Yeah, I'm fine. I hope you're well too.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so Riddhi, the way this is going to go is like me and Anushka will exit off the stage, and you'll be there. You can share anything if you want on the screen, or if you can talk. And we have a YouTube live. There will be people interacting with you. And after your session is at end, after you have finished your thing, there'll be question answers. You can come in and you can write. I mean, we answer the question answers, and then when the questions end, I mean that's where the keynote ends, right? So
Sure.
we'll be leaving now, and all right.
Okay. So before starting off, I just wanted to understand that my audience. So can you just comment down below that which year are you from, so that I can probably have a hangout of the audience. Okay, I think the comments probably are not visible. Anyway, I think okay. So most of you are in college, right? And this talk that I'm going to give is okay. I think there's some lag between this and the YouTube live, so I'm like probably going to the comments. As you can see that most of you are in your second year, third year. One of you are in your fourth year, third year. Nice. Okay, so now in this session, what my focus is primarily going to be is this transition, from a campus to a corporate. How does this transition actually look like, right? Because now when you're in college, you are practicing BSA, you are doing development, you all want to be in your dream company, right? So like, how does this transition, it's like, I think you might have some imagination that what it would be like to be a software engineer, what do software engineer do in day-to-day life, right? And all these imaginations once you're floating around in your head as you prepare for a job, right? As you prepare to set your foot in this software industry. So my today's lecture or today's session, I'm going to focus mostly on that, like how can you successfully transition into a good software engineer, especially from like a campus. By campus I mean as being as a college student, right? So basically I have around 2.5 years of experience in this industry, and I mostly have worked for, big tech companies, like I said, RCZM and Amazon. So I'm mostly going to, my discussion is mostly going to revolve around these big tech companies and not really startups, because I feel that, I don't have much experience, or I won't be eligible to talk about startups because I haven't gone through and worked for them. But yeah, my experience would be mostly around what does software engineer really do in these big tech companies, and what are the things that you as a student should imbibe in order to thrive in this industry, right? So see, I mean, a lot of people, talks about DSA and, what are the things that they should do, how they should build their resume and all these things. Because what I find is most of the people are more interested, right, in how to get a job, right? And like there are a lot of things, you will find a lot of resources on this particular guidance topic, that how to get a job. I mean, every YouTube video you see out of this topic, that is basically boils down to one question that we are answering. Even I have YouTube channel, I answer the same question, whatever topics I teach, that all comes down to the same question, that how do I get a job, or how do I land up in a product-based company. But what I feel is, what most people are not talking about that much for you guys, is how it feels to be, or what are the challenges that you face once you get inside your job, or let's say once you crack your dream company. It can be one of your startups, it can be one of the FAANG companies, it can be anything, right? So what are the things that you should do and what you should expect so that you can thrive on job? And that's why when Hisham invited me for this session, I was very excited, because it is something that I always wanted to say. See, what happens is, we mostly, like whenever we are getting into the big tech companies, all we are doing is DSA, and we'll do a little bit of development or personal projects. If you have done internship, that's great. But I feel, being from a Tier 3 college, getting an internship is not that easy. At least it was not for me. I'm not sure about the current scenario, but yeah, most of you, I would understand, have not done internships and they're getting into the first job. Even if you're getting into an internship, this session would again help you a lot, right? So see, what happens is, first, I would share a couple of my experiences, right? So let's say when we are, learning a particular tech stack, right? And let's say let's say I am comfortable in Java, right? But when I get into these big tech companies, it might happen that my team is not working on Java, right? They might work on front-end technologies. Let's say I was not very familiar with the front-end technologies. I was very new to JavaScript, I would say, and I was mostly into Java, and I've done most of my development in Java, Spring Framework, and all those things in the backend, right? So when I got into my first team, right, we were mainly working on the front-end part, right, which involved React JS and TypeScript and bunch of JavaScript libraries. So now it was kind of very difficult for me at first to understand the things, right? But can you imagine that how much time did I get to ramp up or to learn these technologies? Since I was very new, right, I got 2 weeks. If I was an experienced professional, I would have got hardly 1 week, right? So you have to understand, within this 1 week, you have to understand and ramp up these technologies, right? Which if you're a college student, if someone comes up to you and says you have to learn React.js and make some projects out of it, it will probably take, I think, 15 days to 1 month at least. You will learn all the modules, build some small projects out of it, or probably follow a course structure, right? If you have gone through any of the Udemy courses, or wherever you feel like having the courses, you would feel that it would take some time, right? But here the situation is different. You have to learn one new tech stack, right, which might be completely new to you, right? And then let's say, so it might be completely new to you, right? It might be something very different from the domain that you worked on previously as a student. Next, you have to implement that project, right? I mean, you have to implement those things, whatever your learnings you have gained, and you have to kind of implement that in a production ready environment. And honestly, no one would no one would expect any slip ups from your side. You have to deliver, right? So how do you adapt to this change? So this is one example I'm going to take, and I'm going to explain it to you, and then I would slowly come to the topic that why fundamentals is very, very important, and why should you spend more time on in college brushing up your fundamentals, right? So let's say when I have to go and learn these things, the front end technologies, let's say, which I was very new at. The major mistake that I did, I tried to learn as you guys. I tried to start learning from the scratch, right? So that is a mistake you should not be doing, right? I mean, it's good to learn things in depth, but while at a company, right? One thing is very important is to have your basics and fundamentals very, very correct, right? That's very important. So even if you have not done that, you would definitely struggle a lot. But that is why your college, the time that you spend in college, and that is why development work is very important. Like right now, I get a lot of questions that even these companies are only asking for DSA. Why do we even need development, right? So that's why I said DSAs probably would help you to get into the job, right? Once inside the job, DSA, I won't say it won't directly help you, but yeah, it indirectly helps you. It increases the problem solving skill. But again, that is against the scope of this session. We are mostly talking about development over here. So you see, that fundamentals that you develop, right, will help you now while you learn any particular tech stack, right? So by fundamentals, I mostly mean learning one programming language. I would say learning web technologies. Even if you're an Android developer or machine learning enthusiast, it is fine. But I still feel that you need to learn web a bit, right? You need to at least have the basics. Now, why? I would come to that in my next section. But for this section, I would say I would definitely include web development basics in the fundamentals that you should learn. Next is your operating systems at DBMS. This is something that you should definitely learn. And data DBMS is something I think very, very important because you would need it anywhere you go, right? Having an understanding of how databases work is going to be very, very beneficial. Even if you're looking for a QA kind of role, even if you're not interested into development, still you would need databases. That is a very, very computer science fundamental topic, right? And apart from that, as I said, web development. When I say web development, it includes the computer science, computer network fundamentals as well. So you definitely need to learn that. You don't need to learn the networking protocols in depth, which I think many people have a lot of doubts on. But I don't think you need to you can. Obviously, it's a good thing if you know those stuffs. But again, that is not a mandatory thing. Cool. And again, data structure and algorithms that would help you on. Data structures will help you on job. Algorithms, I'm not very sure. I haven't come across implementation of kind of, let's say, TP algorithms, graph algorithms in real life. They are, but they are in less numbers once on job. But they would help you to crack job. Now, coming back to the topic that I was saying, right? So whenever you face such a difficulty like I faced, right? So you would never try to follow the approach that, okay, I would learn React very, very well first, and then I would probably jump onto my task that is in hand, right? Because if you do that, what you would do is you would end up eating a lot of time. So let's see that how whenever you get assigned your first task in any company, right? So this is how things work, like, right? So if it's a first task and you're a complete fresher, right? So manager would give you some ramp up time, probably will give you 1 or 2 weeks extra than he would probably give a senior person in the team, right? And that 1 or 2 week will be dedicated, to the ramp up, like understanding the tech, understanding the current code base, right? Which is because once you get inside a company and especially once you get inside a big organization, understanding that entire complex flow of the code base that is already developed by guys previous to you is a big challenge in itself. It's even bigger challenge than I would say just coding and implementation, that implementing out the things. You would implement all the things that have been that are already present in the code very easily. But trust me, once you go and try to understand the code that has already been written, and that too, it won't be used. Even if let's say, even if you know and are very conversant with that particular technology, let's say Spring, right? You would see that these companies have already built their own framework on top of Spring. So it's not that you will get the core vanilla Spring framework, right? Built in for you. They would be building their own frameworks, adding their own functionality. So that is all what the big companies do, right? So within this ramp up time, you would get all you have to understand the code base. You will have to get hold of the tech stacks that you are not very conversant with, and then you have to work on the task. And the manager would ask you that, okay, what time do you think that you would need to complete this task? And it's not like you can say 1 month or 2 months, anything that suits you. You can't say like that. There has to be like manager also has a fair bit of idea about how long this task can take. So you have to he would ask, you would give you the option, but again, like, you have to kind of have some negotiations and come to a specific duration that I would complete this task within a particular time, and then you start working backwards. That's how I've seen that's how the companies work mostly. They ask you to give a date first. They first ask you to anticipate, then like give a date, and then you work backwards according to the date, right? So if you start learning, like if you're a complete fresher and now you start learning that particular technology right from scratch, and you end up wasting a lot of time over there. I won't say waste, because anyway, no learning is a waste at the end of the day. But if you like eat up a lot of time over there, right, then what happens is you end up having no time to complete your task and you end up in delays. And then the manager won't be bothered that you learned probably React really, really well, or you learned Angular really, really well. It won't matter because you've already delayed the task, and the customers won't to be too happy because they are not bothered at what you are doing, to be very honest, technically, right? That's for your own growth. So what you need to do is, one thing is very important, that again, as I said, fundamentals is going to be very, very important. Let's say you worked on a similar technology as React, right? Or let's say you have worked on Spring and you have been given task on Django, right? So if you have some idea, or if you have, a fundamental concept very clear, that what, for, let's say if I'm talking about Spring, let's say if I'm not going to talk about the syntax, right? Like if I have worked on Spring, but if you give me the syntax again, I have to Google it and write. But I know what inversion of control is, what dependency injection is, and what are the basic MVC, REST, and all these things. How can I, connect the data DB, and what is the ORM concept, and all these things, because these are the fundamental concepts. So whichever tech stack you are picking up, don't focus on the syntax. Always focus on the concepts. Always focus on the problems that they're trying to solve, because you see the frameworks would come and go, the language would change, and it would evolve over time, but the basic fundamentals would remain the same. You have to understand that what problem is this particular framework or this particular module of this framework solving, so that next day if you have to pick up any new task or any new framework, you can learn that easily. So switching from, let's say, React to Angular, like I worked in React in the first team and then I switched to Angular in the second team. So like the transition should not be much. I know there would be certain specific things which would be very, very specific to a particular thing. That's okay, you can learn that, you would get the time, but the basic fundamental concepts should be clear. You just can't expect to learn things from the scratch, right? That is the first point. And the second point is, that is what my personal suggestion would be: before learning anything, once you get inside a job, right? Once you get inside a job and let's say you come across a particular tech stack that you're not very familiar with, right? First assess the task, right? And contact your seniors, contact your immediate seniors, or contact the persons who have worked around that code, and try to have a conversation with them. Try to understand that what exact part would you actually need, right? So let's say when I was uh, working with, let's say when I got in touch with Angular, right? When I got Angular, I was not very conversant with Angular at all, right? So Angular is a very big framework, right? And if you want to learn a lot of things, there are a lot of things like Angular material, there is integration, unit testing, there is routing, a lot of concepts that are there in Angular, right? Apart from the basic things that are there. So now if you start learning all these things, obviously even if you devote 24/7, I don't think you would get a hang of it, right? So you have to understand it, what exact modules do I need, or what exact things do I need to learn to get my current task in hand completed, right? And that is very important. So there is a saying called horses for courses, and that is the strategy you exactly need to follow. You need to get your job done, right? It's not about, whenever we are in college, we always feel we would learn a particular thing really well, we would have a roadmap, we all like running a proper roadmap, right? We want to do and learn things in a very stepwise manner. Once you get inside a company, no, if you follow that stepwise manner and you try to follow roadmaps like that, you can end up in a bit of trouble, because I feel it's a very fast-paced environment and you have to get your job done, right? That's very important. That's your priority. Your priority should be more on completing the task in hand, and with that, learning should follow. So that's why you need to have a conversation around with your senior. Like, okay, this is the particular module that I would love to pick. So he would make you understand that, okay, these are the particular modules that would be required. And then you go and learn those specific particular modules, right? And then you implement the task. And once you're done with this task, then during the weekends or even after, when you have free time, you can end up, like watching the other parts, like learning the other parts of the particular module, right? That will definitely help you. And even I feel as you go along, even if you don't do that, you will slowly start getting things, right, which would involve more and more of learning, and then you can learn things on the go. So learning things on the go is the very important thing. And if you're having your fundamentals really, really great, very solid, and if you have spent some time on coding in college, then definitely it is going to help you in your endeavor, right? And again, I have to understand this is a very fast-paced environment. Nobody is going to give you the time to learn. They would expect you to get the job done, but they would not give you really much time, or to show some real sympathy that, okay, I don't know this particular text, I got this thing is new for me. Everyone has been through that phase. Even I have been through a phase. Probably your manager has been through that phase, and we have all evolved and we have all contributed to the team's success, right? So you also have to like get fit into their shoes and what they have done, and you have to learn things pretty fast, right? Again, I'm not saying you don't learn technologies, like whatever is required in the project, only learn that. No, that won't help you, again, because in the long term, if you see you're working on a particular thing, let's say you're working on Java, right, and you don't know Java properly, or you're working on React, you don't know React properly, just what you the only you know the part that was there in your project. Although I still feel that going along, your project would involve every module, it would touch every module, right?
Riddhi,
So
just sorry to interrupt you, Riddhi, but like there's a lot of people on a YouTube who are asking you to slow down a bit. I mean, the
yeah,
pace. I
yeah,
mean, a
sure,
lot of people are not able to catch up. So
cool,
that
cool,
would
I
be
would do that. Yeah,
okay.
actually I was not
I'm,
able to go to the comments.
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So I'm
It's
really
okay,
sorry
it's
to interrupt you.
yeah,
Okay,
it's
okay,
okay, it's fine. I think it's a good thing. Okay,
okay.
so okay, I would try my best to be a bit slow, although this is my normal speed. Okay, I would try to be definitely I would try to be a bit slow. Okay, so as I was saying, like definitely you need to learn the task, the framework you're working at, and you need to be expert in that. That's fine. But more than that, what is very, very important is no one really expects you to be an expert in any one tech stack over here. That's again one thing, especially for these big companies. And that is the one reason why these companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, they would never ask you any development related question in terms of tech stack. They won't ask you any question related to React, or they won't ask you any question related to C Sharp, right? Or any question related to Spring, because they know that, okay, they are also not sure that which team you are going at. That is the first thing, right? And the second thing is, like they're also not sure that okay, so since they don't know that which team you are going to, like, they're hiring you for, right? Especially as a fresher, I'm talking in standpoint of a fresher. What happens is, they don't know that what tech stacks is this particular company working for, right? Normally Microsoft, you can say it's a big company, though they mostly work on C Sharp, but again, I've seen few teams working on React, few teams working on Java. So you can see the big companies, normally what they do, they different teams work across different tech stacks, right? And how do they choose their tech stack? It depends on the product that they're building, right? It's not, because I remember this, I got asked this question in one of my managerial interview rounds, and they asked me that, okay, they were talking about my projects, and they were like, okay, why did you pick Java? And I was like, okay, I picked Java because I knew Java, right? And that was a very obvious answer. I think most of you would be giving that answer, right? But no, what I found out, what they were expecting is, they don't choose tech stacks because just because your team is familiar with it, or just because you are familiar with it. It depends on the use case. If you feel that if they are trying to build a product with Java would be more suited, then probably they would be going ahead with Java, irrespective of whether your team or whether the corresponding team knows Java or not, right? So if they feel that, if let's say Python is the most suited for building this particular product, or more suited for this particular use case, they would be going ahead with Python, and they would expect the people, to learn Python very fast and contribute to the development of the software, right? So that is very, very important. So that is why these companies, don't even focus much uh, on a particular tech stack. They don't hire you for a JavaScript developer. They don't hire you for a Java developer. If you see, they would mostly hire you for a SD, that is a software development engineer, right? So because they expect you to be familiar with one or two programming languages, one or two tech stacks, right? And they expect you to learn the other tech stacks, whichever tech stack they're working with, pretty fast, and then contribute to the team. That's their vision. Whether you agree with it or not, that's debatable, but that's how mostly these companies work. And that is why these companies focus on the generic things like data structure and algorithms. They test your aptitude for problem solving. They give you CS fundamental questions, which are very, very generic and is not related to any particular tech stack, right? So you may be pro at JavaScript, right? You may have done full stack development on JavaScript, like Express, and all those things, Angular in the front end, right? Node.js for the backend, right? But again, you may end up working in Java or C Sharp, right? And really can't complain about it, and you really have to go and learn those techs. So my major point of the discussion is over here that you need to be very open, right? You need to be very open when it comes to learning, and when it comes to learning new technologies. It can be way, very different from what you have learned in your college. Maybe you can be a pro at one technology, but you should always be open-minded to switch technologies. That is why I would always suggest You maybe not be an expert in one particular tech stack. That's completely fine, but know the fundamentals very, very well and try to understand that what problem they're solving, right? So next day, if some other technologies crop up, or if someone asks you to solve use another tech stack, right, another completely different tech stack to solve that same problem, you should be able to solve it, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing, I would answer a few common doubts that you guys have. So most of you feel that Java is very, very outdated, or C# and all these things are very, very outdated. I would say it's still not the case, right? If you are interested in machine learning, let's come to the topics one by one. Let's say if you're interested in machine learning, right? It's a huge buzzword. You can be. It's a great topic, probably the future. But right now, if you ask me, whatever my experience has been working for 3 companies, if you are a fresher, and especially if you're targeting big companies, when I say big companies, it can be FAANG, it can be the big product-based companies, or it can be the big startups, the branded startups. Most of them are assigning web development work to freshers, right? Whatever team I've come across, I've worked across 4 teams so far. A lot of my friends are in other good companies as well, and 99% of them are in web development, right? So I'm not trying to discourage you guys, whoever is doing machine learning, Android, or something like that. Feel free to do that. Obviously do that, because if you're interested in one particular thing, you should definitely do that. And if you're too interested in that particular domain, obviously I think there are jobs. It's not that they're not there. But if you're in generic, if you're interested more in coding, and like anything is okay for you as long as it's as development or coding or software engineering is concerned, and you want to ask me about the insights about the software engineering industry, because many people ask me that what is the thing that I should focus on, right? What is the thing I should focus on, or what are the things that are most sought after once I join, or what are the things that would help me, what are the knowledge of those things that would help me once I join particular these big companies, right? And that is why I said even at the beginning that web development basics is very important, right? Even if you're doing Android or machine learning, whatever it is, at some point of your time you will need web, right? Because web is very, very important, at least understanding the basics of web. So that is why I feel web development. Okay, so like talking about the what these companies are mostly assigning work to. 99% of these companies are assigning web development work to freshers, right? That's the truth. I mean, how bitter it may sound or how excited you can be, that's the truth, and that's what I've seen mostly. Right, there are exceptions. Obviously, there are some startups probably who hire for ML engineers straight away, or maybe Android developers. There are still openings. I've seen a lot of openings in companies, but in big companies, there are no specific. I think so far I haven't come across any specific roles saying Android engineer in big tech companies. Maybe as you go along, there are 2 options, right? One, you get in as an SD, and then you are assigned to a team which works on Android. That I've seen a lot. So again, web development still wins here. And second is when you join a startup, right? You work into, you join a startup because they are hiring, because startups are the place which can like allow you or will assign you specialized roles. Like if you want to, they would tell you beforehand that, okay, we are hiring for an ML role, or we are hiring for an Android role, right? So you can have some experience over there. I've seen, I think one of the guys who is currently working at Google, he started his career working for a startup as an Android engineer and an Android developer. And then after 2-3 years, once you have this required experience, then you can apply to the big companies for the specialized roles. But mostly, these specialized roles are not available for freshers to apply. This specialized roles are mostly for people who have a little bit experience, right? For freshers, if you want to apply to these big companies, all you have to do is mostly you have to apply for software development engineer roles. Although Amazon have, I think now have 2 or 3 specialized roles that are also allowing for freshers. That is, I think, front end web developer for the front end enthusiast, right? For again, there's some web development engineer, WD they call it. That is also available for the, like, especially for people who are web development enthusiasts. Amazon is giving freshers a chance in those as well. But again, if I'm talking in a broader sense, 99% of the people or the freshers do get assigned web development tasks, right? Because most of the teams, at least in India, I'm not sure about the scenario abroad, but at least in India, jobs in web development are a lot more. And specifically, if I talk about freshers, web development is something that I feel you should learn, at least if you are targeting big tech companies, because that is something that will help you on job, right? And as I said, fundamentals and all those things are very, very important. You should definitely take out your time, because see, as I said, once you join a particular company, right, no one would give you much time to learn, right? You won't get much time for learning, right? Because it's all about your first priority would then be getting your job done first, and then your learning will take a backseat. I mean, obviously we'll learn a lot of other things on the job, it's not like that, but have that dedicated time to learn. You won't get much that of time, because I remember in my first company, when I joined, we were given 3 months of training, which is very rare. Normally, these big companies won't even give you training; they will slowly, put you into projects, which is actually a good thing. Again, both has its pros and cons. Let's not get in there. But when we used to have those trainings, our trainer used to say that you are paid to learn, which is, I think, a very, very good thing, right? Normally you don't get that. Normally don't get that once you join a company. So utilize this time while you are at college, right? Because trust me, whatever time, I know you must be having your semester examinations, you would be having an assignments, a lot of other things to do, but still you would have lots and lots of time to learn, because the time that you would get right now as a student, as an engineering student, to learn things, right? Be it DSA, be it development, be it anything, or maybe in terms of exploring that your career path, that what career path would probably suit you, right? So you won't get that time once. I won't say you won't, that would be a very negative thing to say, but again, I would say you would get very, very less time as compared to now. So utilize this time as being a student. 4 years is a long time, and it's a huge long time, to develop your skills and do a lot of other stuff. So definitely utilize this time and get your fundamentals correct, right? So if I talk about fundamentals, I would say, let's say if you want to be good at front-end development, learn JavaScript really, really well. Because if you see all these frameworks like Angular, React, Vue, and a lot of other frameworks that are there, they are mostly built on top of JavaScript, right? Previously, there was jQuery, right? So all these things that are coming into this picture are built on top of JavaScript. Even if you see TypeScript, which is an evolvement of JavaScript, so you have to understand that, okay, JavaScript is the common element over here. All these frameworks are built on top of JavaScript. So if I have the fundamentals of JavaScript really solid, switching from one particular tech stack to another tech stack, or one particular framework to another framework, won't be much of a worry, right? Again, talking about, I think also you should know OOPS really, really well, right? And talking about development, one is the front end part. If you're learning web development, JavaScript is a must. JavaScript is also used for backend, though mostly what I've seen in companies is, okay, now I said that web development is very important. Now I would be talking about the tech stacks, like what tech stacks I'm immediately seeing working for these three companies. Which tech stack is more important, right? So so talking about the front end, obviously I've seen React being the more popular framework. Angular is there also. Angular is also good, but I think React kind of would beat Angular when it comes to the tech companies. I think Microsoft also works on React. RCGM works on React. Amazon, I think I've also seen a couple of teams working on React. A lot of teams, in fact. I mean, React is a very popular framework right now, and I think Google, I think use Angular, right? It's their own product. So that is why, I mean, mostly it will revolve around these two if you want to talk about frameworks in the front end part. In the backend, what I've seen is Spring framework mostly used, but again, not vanilla Spring framework that we are used to or we would find courses on. Normally, these companies bring their own, develop their own frameworks on top of Spring frameworks, right? So that won't be much of a change. That is just an evolvement or some adding the custom libraries, you can say, or adding some custom annotations, right? But the basic thing would remain the same. And also for the backend, as I said, Spring. So obviously you can understand, you would have guessed it by now, that Java is going to be very, very important. In my 3 to 4 teams that I've worked so far, all I have seen is Java being the common part. So even if you're not interested in Java, I think you should be at least familiar with that particular language, so that at least if you see, I mean, it's okay, you can hate Java, that's completely fine. But let's say if you're assigned one task, right, and you want to target big companies, I don't think there's a way out without knowing Java. There are specific teams that works on Python. I've also seen that. I won't say there are no cases where you won't get any team without Java. It's not like that. But again, it's better. It's just a suggestion that if you are at least familiar with Java, it would help you, right? Because most of the work that I've come across, especially in the back, especially if you're a backend developer, mostly revolves around Java in these big companies. Next, probably what this follows is Python. I've seen a couple of teams working on Python and Django in the backend as well. And then there is, Node.js and all these JavaScript things. Mostly they're used in startups. I haven't seen JavaScript used in the backend in the big tech companies. I've heard of, because a lot of my friends are in big companies as well. So I haven't heard any instances of, Node.js being used. Maybe in some specific teams they're used, but if I'm talking about a very generic level, again, if for us, let's say for a specific use case or for a specific product, you need those particular technologies, then probably they might use it. But again, talking on a very generic level, if you want to increase the probability of getting a tech stack that would more suit you, or then probably I would say Java would definitely go for the win, followed by Python. And in the front end, again, right now I haven't seen any framework that doesn't deal with JavaScript. So JavaScript is very, very important if you talk about the web part, right? So I think try to learn JavaScript really, really well. After that, frameworks would like easily catch up with it. It's not a big thing. Again, on the backend part, I think core Java is going to be very, very important. Your collection framework is going to be very, very important. That is something that will not only help you in doing the solving the DSA problems, helpful for your interviews. It would also help you, on job, because you won't find a single piece of code without collections being used in Java, right? Also, threading, having a concept of multi-threading is also, I think, very, very important, though it's not, I mean, there would be use cases where we'll be coming across it. Second thing is design patterns, right? If you can know design patterns to some extent, obviously OOPS is, again, when I talk about Java, OOPS is obviously would be taking it for granted that is included in it, right? Though OOPS is a different thing. I mean, Java is a language that uses OOPS, but again, I think you should be familiar with the concept of OOPS. And next, as an advanced version of that OOPS, I would say you should. It's not mandatory, but I would say it would be good if you would be doing a world of good if you know design patterns a bit. Especially two design patterns that I've seen a lot is the behavioral design, behavioral design builder pattern, and one is the factory design pattern. So if you, you can check that out once you join a company, and you would see a lot of this in action once you join a company, right? If you haven't seen, you can go and check that out, right? So design patterns, again, especially these two design patterns that I mentioned, is kind of important. It would help you understand the code. Otherwise, when you join a company, you would be like, okay, what is happening? Only new code Java so far, and you would like all the even if you have worked with Java extensively, a lot of things will be going above your head, right? And that is something you should learn to deal with it, because it might also happen, no matter how much you learn. It might happen that a lot of things will still go above your head, right? So don't get too much frustrated with it, because especially when you join a big company, you get into a team which has done a lot of work previous to you. Understanding the code base and all those things would be a challenge. It is a challenge for everyone, be it a pro software engineer or someone who is just starting off his software engineering journey. It is the same for everyone. I remember joining Amazon with an SD2, and we went through the same problems understanding the complex code base, right? So it is same for everybody. So don't, even if you're joining a company and for the next 1 or 2 months you feel you're completely at sea, don't get disheartened, right? It's everyone goes to that phase, right? Try to unearth topics, try to unearth the things by going to the code base, right? And slowly and steadily, once you get assignments, tasks, and you have to work on those things, you will slowly start getting a hang of it, right? So coming back, again, design patterns, as I said, is something that is really, really cool to know before joining. And one very important thing you should know, I feel, before starting your software engineering journey is learning to how to write a clean code, right? This is something you would be taught. Some companies would teach you, some might expect to straight away, is writing clean code. Right now, if I want to talk about clean code, what are the best clean coding practices? I know many of you have already heard about it. Even if you're doing an internship, you're going to do an internship, you would see this in action a lot. So what happens is, there are, like, I can go at length on talking about this clean coding and all. There can be a separate session for this, but again, basic things, if I want to just give you a hang of, like, what do I exactly mean by clean coding or writing production ready code. One thing is, very simple terms, is naming your variables, giving proper names for variables, not like giving XYZ as we probably might do. Especially the competitive coding people have this habit of giving this type of names, and that is very reasonable, because there you are coding in a competitive environment. You need to submit your coding problem within a time limit. So that's why it is definitely good to you can that makes it reasonable to give such names. But again, whenever you're solving DSA problems, right, or whenever you are like getting inside a company, giving very meaningful variable names is something very, very important. Writing modular code, I think that is also very, very important, right? I mean, writing modular functions. So basically we say that whatever functions you're writing, that must not be doing more than one job at a time, right? So your function should not only be doing one task, right? So let's say if your function involves a very complex logic and it needs a lot of things to do along with that. So you should be breaking your functions into 3 different or 4 different functions, right? So that you assign one particular task to each function, right? Okay, so that's something very, very important. Writing clean code, you can read about it. I think it's not a big thing. And I think this is all about it. And learning Git, I think that's very, very important, because anyway we'll be working in a collaborative environment, right? So again, I think learning about Git is going to be very, very beneficial. I think you guys are mostly doing development, so you would be knowing Git, but again, learn the Git in advance, not only just add, commit and stuff like that. Learn Git in a more advanced way. I would say that would definitely help you a lot. And apart from that, writing unit test cases, that is also something very important. We follow a test-driven approach, TDD, as we say in our day-to-day software engineering work. That means we first write test cases, then we ensure that our code fails, right? Then we write code so that we ensure that the unit test cases that we wrote doesn't fail. So that's called test-driven approach, right? First we write test cases, then we develop according to the test case. So these are the practices that are mostly followed in the software engineering industry. That's what really comes to my head right now. Obviously, I would love to answer your questions. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me, and I would be more than happy to answer it. Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry. I was actually looking at my phone. There's so many questions in here that I
Yeah,
think we have
I
more
know
than
there
10
would be.
questions now. So
Yeah, that's why I thought that let's give a pause and take up the questions, because I'm sure a lot of them will be having a lot of questions. So yeah, let's take
exactly,
it one by one.
there's a lot of questions. Right. So Anush, so what will happen is that there'll be banners in the questions, and we'll be dictating the questions, and then you can answer those. So Anushka, over to
Sure.
you. Anushka, I think you're muted. We can't
Sorry,
hear you.
sorry, sorry.
Right.
Firstly, thank you for such an amazing speech. Thank you for finding the time out and giving us so much knowledge and insight. The first question is, do you think the growing hustle culture and FANG only mentality is going to break the talent pool over time?
Okay, actually, this is a very nice question. In one of my podcasts with Gaurav Sen, I maybe would be knowing him. A lot of people would be knowing him, obviously. I was asking him the exact same question that this guy asked. But he's very positive about it, and also I'm very positive about it, because at least people are now aware about the opportunities that is coming into the Indian IT industry, which looks really, really great right now. A lot of job opportunities right now. A lot of good companies, startups are evolving and hiring as well. Something which was not the case back during our time, because nobody really thought he coming from a very from a private college, or from a tier 3 college, one can make big, and always used to have this notion that just doing coding won't be enough. We have to either go for masters in a good college by cracking gate examinations, or by going abroad, and then maybe we can make it big from there, or going for MBA. A lot of people even change their streams, because not many jobs are available from colleges, from at least from where I studied from, or a lot of you would be studying from. But right now the situation has changed. A lot of these companies are hiring. They're opening their offices in India. I think Google is opening a new office in Bangalore. Microsoft has opened their office in Noida. Amazon is hiring a lot than used to do previously, probably 2-3 years ago. From now. So yeah, I think there's a lot of exciting things happening. So let's look at the positive side. And talking about FANG, I feel this is just I think hype that has been created, some narratives that has been created, some edtech startups also kind of for their own business purposes. A lot of YouTubers also probably taking advantage of this. But again, I think a lot of good companies are right there out. A lot of good startups are evolving, and I think it will be an eye opener for the students as they go along. They would understand and figure out.
Right. So I guess that answers the question. This is a question that came up. So this one says, one of the biggest issues that I faced at my internship was the existing code base that was huge, and I was not able to catch up with it on time. Any particular way to get better at that?
Yeah, I hope that I had an answer to this, because even I used to struggle a lot with this. It will slowly get better with time, right? More and more work you do, more and more assignments you solve, more and more CRs or PRs you're able to raise, you would get more confident and you would get more hang about the code base. Also try to interact with seniors a lot, because seniors who have worked on a particular module, they would give you an insight. And one thing that is really an hindrance right now, especially for freshers like us or who are very new to the software engineering industry, is working from home. Because what happens is we are mostly working from home. We are not able to interact with seniors. We have to wait for replies from our senior people, wait for their time. Something which was not a big issue if you're working like offline, or if you were like going to offices, because the seniors would be sitting right in front of us and would be like gaining that knowledge or whatever doubts that will resolve then and there, right? Because I have worked in offline and both online and offline, so I know what are the challenges that we face, especially as a software engineer, as freshers, especially in work from home mode. So this is, I don't think there's a very specific answer, but slowly with time it would get better and it would get confident. That's why I said you don't feel disheartened. Everyone goes to this phase. It would slowly and steadily start feeling more confident once you start contributing to the team. You are not going to be a pro and understand everything from the day one, because there's going to be a huge code base that would be thrown in front of you.
Right. So the next question.
Yeah.
I think Anushka, you're muted again.
Sorry. Do you think any examples of where choosing the wrong tech stack could make or break the project entirely?
Like, yeah, if you're talking about the design, from the design perspective, it can, obviously, because again, what tech stacks you would be using, that also comes under design, right? So when you are doing, so whenever you start a project, your SD3s and the architects would be designing a system. And when I talk about design, they would be talking about the infrastructure that they would be using. They would be using, talking about the tech stacks that they can pick up, and all those discussions are a part of the design discussions that we guys have before starting up or taking up a project. So yeah, if your design decisions goes wrong, it would affect you big time.
Right. Okay, this is a question that comes up. I'm sorry, there's really a lot of questions. The YouTube audience was really excited, and I think we got like 12 questions or something. So this question says companies want people who are quick thinkers, smart, and good learners, which DSA algo is a good measure for. Do you think there could be another way to quantify a person's aptitude and worth?
Okay, again, I don't think probably I would a good person to answer this. Probably someone who is there in the industry for long and is associated with this hiring process would be a better person to answer this. But what I feel is, yeah, I think definitely there should be. We need to research on it. I think companies now would be thinking about it, because DS Algo has been there for quite some time now, and every people are doing DSA right now. So obviously there would be better ways. But I'm not a like I'm not sure to answer this. But again, I think companies will come up with this and they would bring some change in the hiring process. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. I think we have more questions. Yes. If hypothetically I am a person who can't get around a competitive coding stigma, do you have any tips on how one could look for careers and roles that suit them off campus?
I think you can go for remote jobs if you slowly want to go for development. If you don't want to, run after the rat race, you don't want FAANG or other product-based companies, then definitely you can look at those roles. Also, there are startups who just probably, I think one startup that is coming to my mind, which is I think Gojek. They don't ask you DSA questions. That according to my knowledge, Ixigo, I think is another one startup, a great startup that doesn't ask you much DSA questions. So definitely you can. Look for those startups or remote jobs. But again, competitive coding and DSA again are not the same, I would say. You can still get into FAANG or other product-based companies without doing competitive coding. So I'm a bit confused that whether you're talking about DSA or competitive coding. But I think if you're just talking about competitive coding, then I think all the companies are out there open for you, because 99% of the companies don't even require competitive coding in the first place.
Hmm.
Right. The next question: big companies versus startups while considering native development versus hybrid frameworks in while development. Please describe your experience.
Okay, mobile, I have not worked on it, so I won't be able to give you insights on that. Talking about big companies and startups, see, normally, if I talk about in a generic way, they say that in startup environment, you get to learn a lot. You get to learn a lot, and you get to work on a lot of things in a very short time, right? So that is true, definitely true. The probability, I would say, is definitely higher to get good work in startup. But even in big companies, right, you get this kind of environment. Like let's say in Amazon and the team that I am at, you can call it as a mini startup, right? And there I'm getting to learn a lot of things. I'm working on multiple technologies, although I can't name them probably. And so, I mean, even in a big company, even in a big company, if you have a team which works like a mini startup or is working on things from the scratch, you would get to learn a lot. And let's say if you get into a startup and you might not get a team that is very good from the growth oriented side, or it will happen really, but it might happen. I've seen instances of it. So it all boils down to the team that you will be working at more than the company. If you're talking in a very generic manner, then obviously I would say startups are a better place to start off your career, to learn, than big companies. But again, it is not always the case. Even in big companies, we learn a lot, right? And the second thing is but working in big companies, what is I would say a positive side or aspect is, you start valuing processes, right? Because in startup, I won't say, again, I won't be a good person to talk about startups because I haven't worked for any. But whatever I've seen so far, having conversations with people who have worked over there, they normally don't focus too much on processes, which the bigger companies do. And that is something I feel you should definitely imbibe, no matter how boring they are, because that is something that would really help you in the long run.
Right, right.
The next question is, do you think learning the new tech stacks for backend like Golang is worth it?
Okay, can you just come again? I didn't hear it.
Yeah, sorry. Do you think learning the new tech stacks for backend like Golang is worth it?
Again, it depends. I mean, everything is worth it, to be very honest. We learned that really well. But getting Golang, if you're asking like worth it as in terms of what, that is very important question over here, right? If you feel satisfied, if you feel excited to learn about that particular tech stack, then definitely it's worth it. Now, if you're asking it in the perspective of whether you can expect a lot of Golang projects right now, if you are starting your career in the software industry, I would say no, probably. Because as I said, I've already given out my answer while I was giving the session. Mostly it's based on Java, mostly it's on web development, mostly JavaScript and all those basic things. There are obviously exceptions, I'm not saying, but the probability of getting these tech stacks are probably high. But again, that if you feel you're excited to go learn Golang, definitely go ahead and give it a try. Who knows? Maybe in your next team you would get Golang. It might happen. There's always a possibility.
Right, right, right. Okay, the next question. What are the opinions on Scala, Kotlin, and other JVM based languages?
I think Kotlin, I think, is mostly used in the web, mobile part right now. I don't have much knowledge on it. Also, I've not worked in Scala. So probably I won't be a good person to answer this because I haven't worked on these technologies. But I think Kotlin is now one of the specs which I have seen in mobile a lot. So if you're someone who wants to be a mobile and have something or like build a career in mobile, definitely I think you should learn Kotlin, because out of the two companies I've seen, whatever mobile, though I haven't worked directly on it, but I've seen Kotlin being used widely. Scala I haven't seen much, so I won't be able to answer that. But yeah, if you're a person who wants to work on mobile techs, Kotlin is definitely the go-to language right now, at least in this big tech companies.
Right, right, right.
Thank you. The next question is, I have a question. I am currently learning MERN stack. What are your suggestions about what to learn after learning web development?
I mean, if you're learning web development stack, I mean, you should definitely do some projects, right? Because now you're in college, and once you learn a particular tech stack, it's not about learning; it's about showcasing that what you have learned, and that is something that would be expected out of you as a fresher, because you have not worked, you don't have any experience, right? Apart from internship experience, you won't be having much experience to showcase, right? So I won't say you can. I can give you a lot of things that go learn this and that, right? But I would say work on some projects, try to showcase your learnings, try to work on start with easy projects and then try to work on 2 or 3 complex projects that you can put up in your resume, right? That would definitely help you an edge in the interview, so that you can discuss. And having good projects definitely gives you an edge in any of the interviews, be service based companies, be product based companies. I mean, definitely having good projects gives you an edge. I think that is everyone knows that. So yeah, I would say once you have learned MERN stack, that's great, because you already now have an in-depth knowledge of how the web works. You are now you would now be capable of building an entire app on your own. So go ahead and do that, build a couple of things. And in the process, you can learn about the best practices, design patterns. You can understand that how now I can write production ready code and all these things. You can easily learn. I see a lot of courses now even incorporating this, like how not only they're teaching, but they're also teaching the best practices that that are usually followed in the software engineering industry. That is really really great, I find.
Right, right, right. So I think those were all the questions. Uh, Thank you, Riddhi, for such a fruitful session. And personally, even I've learned a lot from it because as a third year, I'm going to transition into my corporate career, and I'm pretty sure everyone in the YouTube would also have learned so much. And
Definitely.
definitely, thank you so much, Riddhi. And
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure. We always love to interact with my juniors because I've been through that journey, and it really feels back in time, to interact with you guys. So it's been great. Yeah, and thanks for
right,
inviting.
right. Thank you, Riddhi.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was one fruitful session, and the enthusiasm in the YouTube audience is amazing. We've had a lot of questions and a lot of things, and I guess we are done with the speaker speaking. So Anushka would deliver a vote of thanks right now. So Anushka.
Um, this session has been amazing. We are very grateful for all our wonderful speakers who took the time out from their busy schedules and came and gave us such an insightful knowledge about their lives and the industry. Navigating through all the curveballs that college life and corporate life throws at us, it's far from straightforward. But I think after this session, I feel like it's a little bit easier. And not to mention, all our audience has been extremely engaging and enthusiastic this whole time. We are incredibly grateful for all of the energy that you gave us.
Right. So now, before we go away, as I said, this is the first event of DSC in November. And do you think we'll end here? Absolutely not, because we have exciting events lined up, and one of those events is Dev Jams. Now, every year at DSC we organize one flagship hackathon, right? And every year we try to make the flagship hackathon, bigger than the one last year. And this time, it's no different. We have we have probably organized the biggest dev jams ever this time, and the winner, wait for it, gets a cash prize of 1 lakh rupees. Anushka, could you imagine that?
Imagine entering college, winning a 48-hour hack, and winning 1 lakh rupees above that. I mean, the fun, the games, the learning, the building is on one side, and the prize money and the prize pool is on other side.
Exactly, exactly. And one of the questions that I think I've at DSC I have organized around 3 hackathons till now, and one of the questions that I get always is that can a fresher attend a hackathon, right? And yes, the idea is yes. The answer is yes. I mean, a fresher can definitely attend the hackathon, and as you can see on my screen, the best freshers team has a prize of 10,000 rupees. So, I mean, you have an incentive, and don't worry, if you do not know any coding or anything, we will be here to give you constant mentorship and guidance during the hackathon, right? And to register, all you have to do is go to this website. We have worked really hard on this website. Our tech team at DSC has done an amazing job. So you can go here and you can register. You can form a team. The team you need to have at least 2 team members, and the maximum number of members that can be there in a team is 4. And yeah, and you can go register. And we have a Discord channel, we have a Telegram outer circle channel, and we have all the social media handles that will be there in the chats. And you can definitely go and you can follow us on there and look out for updates. So
Another
yeah,
question that we get a lot is what to do if we don't have a team of 4 members, of 2 members, or if you can't find anyone to participate in the hack with you. You can always join our Discord server and meet people who don't have a team but have similar interests as you and would love to participate.
exactly, exactly. And I mean, I'm telling you, already the amount of activity we have on a Discord server is amazing. So I guess that is the end of Dev Talks. I hope all of you enjoyed it. I hope all of you took away some amazing lessons. and we'll hope to see you in the Dev Jams next.